Well, what's normal? But anyway.
All right, good luck,
It's a compliment.
Lee. What? It's not really a compliment, but
It's
we'll not
not.
go down that rabbit
No,
hole.
it's-
See you,
no.
Lee.
Bye.
Bye. Take care of yourself. 9 till noon show on the way. But first, it's news with Donal. Good morning.
Thank you, Greg. Good morning. The Health Minister is expected to update senior ministers later today on the overcrowding issues facing Irish hospitals. It comes after the Irish Nurses and Midwives Organisation counted 931 people awaiting beds yesterday morning. That's a new record. There were 52 in Letterkenny and 48 in Sligo. That's a northwest total of 100. Minister Stephen Donnelly says, despite calls from the INMO for the reintroduction of a mask mandate, public health advice is unlikely to change. He shares the HSE's view that the crisis hasn't yet peaked.
The modelling is difficult in terms of being accurate. However, what I can tell you is the HSE's view was that this is likely to get worse. We are likely to see more pressure. They don't believe that the flu wave has peaked. And so the question is, well, what can we do about that? The healthcare professionals have said to us all over many years, we need more beds, and they're right.
House prices rose by just over 9% last year in Donegal, according to daft.ie's latest analysis. The average house price in the county now €197,000, compared to a national average of just under 310,000. This time last year, the Donegal rise was 14%. Economist Ronan Lyons is the author of the daft.ie report. He says people moving out of the cities during the COVID era created a lot of demand in the regions, and in particular in Connacht Ulster. However, he says that's now eased significantly.
Earlier in the year, prices in Munster were increasing at 14% year on year, and indeed in Connacht they were up almost 20%. Both of those markets now have cooled significantly, and they're in line with the national average with increases over the course of the year of about 6 or 7%. What that means is that those COVID increases that we saw, they're over in terms of dramatic increases over the course of 6, 9, 12 months in 2021 and into 2022.
All aspects of oil emergency planning could be put on a statutory footing. It's part of a government plan to strengthen the state's capacity to respond to a potential oil emergency. However, they're stressing that's not the situation at present. With more, here's Eamon Falvey.
Ireland currently has an adequate oil reserve and a disruption to supply is thought unlikely. But the coalition is aware of the impact any disruption would have on households and businesses. This move is part of the commitment to ensuring the risk is prepared for. The government's approach is in keeping with that of other EU member states. Key measures to be introduced in the new legislation include clarity around the powers of the minister and how quickly they can be deployed to control the supply and distribution of fuel in an emergency, putting all aspects of oil emergency planning on a statutory footing, and establishing a register of oil suppliers to ensure fast communication to retailers.
Windy with bright spells and scattered showers today. Some of those showers heavy in top temperatures of 9 to 11 degrees Celsius. Fresh to strong and gusty west to southwest winds. It'll be mostly dry early tonight and chilly for a time, with temperatures hitting 4 to 7 tonight, becoming milder toward morning with outbreaks of rain and drizzle spreading from the south. Moderate south to southwest breezes will increase fresh and gusty later this evening and into the night. And that's Highland Radio News. We're back with news again at 10 o'clock.
Edel Cashman, liver transplant recipient, encourages you to talk about organ donation with your family.
People say it's the gift of life, and that's almost become a cliche, but it literally is the gift of new life. It's just so important for people to talk about organ donation, because it's not something I would have given a second thought to before it became my life.
For information, visit hse.ie/organ donation and start talking about organ donation today. From the HSE.
The county's #1 talk show, the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio. And now, it's time for the talk of the Northwest, the 9 to noon show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
Hello, good morning to you. 4 minutes past 9, Wednesday, the 4th of January, 2023. How are you keeping? You're very welcome along to another edition of the 9 till noon show, and it's another busy one for you. Plenty to keep you informed and entertained over the next 3 hours. Hopefully you'll stay with us and get involved. You can WhatsApp and text the show on 086 60 25,000, 086 60 25,000, or call 074 91 25,000, 074 91 25,000. We welcome your emails to comments@highlandradio.com. If you want to maybe put a bit more words down on paper, you're welcome to do so, or give us or watch the show, on our Facebook page. Either of them, Highland Radio Hub or Highland Radio News and Sport, or on YouTube, Highland Radio Ireland, or you can watch directly in your browser on our website. Just click Watch Live and get involved there. Send us a message, say hello. Right, let's look at what's making the front pages of the newspapers before we make our own headlines. Let's start with the Inish Times. They tell us that the number of people seeking assistance from St Vincent de Paul in Buncrana has almost doubled on the same time last year, while donations to the organisation in the town have dropped by around 50%. That's quite a swing, isn't it? The voluntary organisation in the town has experienced an uptake in families seeking help since September as families deal with inflation and the rising costs of fuel and electricity, with a striking change being the number of people in employment seeking assistance. And that's a trend that's being seen nationally, not just here in the Northwest. The Finn Valley Voice this morning: Airbnb, the most popular form of property letting in Donegal, faces tough new restrictions in the new year. Property for rent in Donegal, says daft.ie, 73 times more likely to be an Airbnb than a long-term rental. Of the over 1,700 properties for rent in the county last summer, just 23 were long-term rentals. The remainder were Airbnb, a highly flexible system under which clients rent a property for a few days or weeks under conditions which vary widely from property to property. Now, the state is clamping down on what is often seen as a free-for-all system. Before rules applied to rent pressure zones, but seemingly, according to that article, it's going to be across the board. They were finalised in December, I believe. The Donegal Post tells us that 8 people lost their lives as a result of road traffic collisions in Donegal last year. They form part of the grim statistic of 155 road fatalities across the Republic in 2023. But for the Donegal families affected, it will remain a pain that will remain with them for the rest of their lives. Many others will have to live with life-changing injuries, along with family and friends grieving for lives lost needlessly. Brian O'Donnell, Donegal's road safety officer, said that a visit to any collision location, an emergency department or coroner's court will bring home the reality of destroyed lives, horrific deaths and grieving families following road traffic death and injury. On to the Nationals now, and as you can imagine, the situation in Ireland's hospitals is dominating much of the front pages, and perhaps you've got your own story to tell or your own opinion to share. I invite you to use the numbers I mentioned earlier on. Text or WhatsApp 08660 25000 or call 07491 25000. I've been sent stories privately, of course, on my social media of what people endured over Christmas and into the new year. At the local hospital, or in trying to access Now Doc or at their own GP for that matter. We're going to be speaking about this a little later on in the programme as well, of course. But emergency department consultants are warning more unnecessary deaths will occur in hospitals as patients struggle to access timely care due to overcrowding. It came as Health Minister Stephen Donnelly admitted things were likely to get worse. The number of people waiting on a bed hit a record high yesterday, 931 patients on trolleys. They've been tracking numbers for 20 years. It's never been worse. Experts say this is likely to increase as elective procedures resume after Christmas. While some fear surgeries may be delayed or cancelled as a result, University Hospital Limerick, which had 97 patients waiting on a bed yesterday, said only urgent elective surgeries will go ahead in the coming days. And that elective word in surgeries is almost as if, people are deciding to go in for surgery. But it can wait. In many cases, they are incredibly important surgeries. Patients have reported spending up to 9 days on trolleys and sleeping on floors. One woman who was kicked in the face by a horse told the Irish Independent she waited 14 hours for an x-ray. And those stories are just right across the country. There's just no doubt about that. On to the Irish Times. Again, of course, it has overcrowding in hospitals likely to worsen due to flu. But also they carry the story that the state is facing a shortfall of more than 14,000 beds for refugees before the end of March, with government briefing documents starkly warning that the current accommodation system is unsustainable. A lot of hotels want their rooms back as well for one reason or another, which is going to be a problem as people have settled in communities and children have settled into schools. These hotel rooms no longer available, no property to rent in those particular areas. What are they going to do? It was always a short-term plan. And perhaps maybe if they'd come up with something more long-term, it would have been more sustainable. But papers drawn up last month by the Department of Integration show projected shortfalls in the immediate short term and warns that a significant acceleration in cross-government efforts will be needed to source more accommodation. Without it, they note, it's inevitable that there will be a shortage of available accommodation, and internal modelling shows gaps in provision of accommodation emerging. Briefing documents drawn up by Minister of State Joe O'Brien, who's taking up new responsibility in the Department of Integration, warns that the present provision model is also unsustainable, as oversight of accommodation at this scale and pace entails many challenges. And not to mention too, we are seeing increases in population, which is putting pressure on various services, and there doesn't seem to be any planning to deal with that either. And also, too, still being contacted by people who offered second properties for refugees. They haven't even got a call back, which doesn't make much sense to me. The Irish Daily Mail, health experts, we must return to masks. I don't know if we're able to have this conversation now without it being a pro-mask, anti-mask thing. I think, is there an argument for the return of masks to try and slow down the spread of all respiratory illness, but then those that are against masks are dead against them, and it feeds into sort of an awful lot more than that. And then those that are pro them have started to feel uncomfortable wearing them out in public. Some people are being approached saying, "Why are you wearing that mask?" So I don't know if we can ever come up with some sort of a consensus from a healthcare perspective as a society anymore, because we're so divided on such issues. But health experts, they want the immediate return of mandatory mask wearing as hospitals buckle under the strain of respiratory viruses. The number of patients on trolleys hit a new record of 931 yesterday, 171 more than the previous highest total of 760 set a fortnight ago. But you heard from Stephen Donnelly there. At this stage, they are not going to go down that route. And I suppose some might argue that the lack of sort of interaction, because a lot of people were staying at home or wearing masks, has contributed to where we are at now in terms of a spike in RSV, flu, COVID and what have you. It's above my pay scale. I really don't know what the right thing is in that regard. On to the Sun now. Sales of new electric vehicles soared by 81% last year, according to the latest figures. The Society of the Irish Motor Industry said 105,000 odd new cars were registered last year, up slightly on the figure for 2021. 15,678 electric cars were registered in 2022. That's up from 8,600. And so it goes. Too many numbers in there for me, but suffice to say, you add all the electric, hybrid, plug-in hybrid, they're the most popular car at the moment. They're outselling diesel and petrol. More than 350 people have been prosecuted in the last 5 years for not keeping their dogs under control. This is according to the Irish Daily Mirror. Fianna Fáil backbencher Pádraig O'Sullivan told the Irish Mirror people with dangerous dogs need to face tougher punishment if they cannot control their animal. Is this something you would agree with? The government has committed to reviewing laws around dangerous dogs in the aftermath of an attack that resulted in a young County Wexford child requiring intensive surgery, and he's pictured heavily scarred on the front, accompanying this story this morning. Statistics provided to Deputy O'Sullivan by the court service show that between January 2017 and October 2022, 363 people were convicted in the district court for 415 offences related to uncontrolled dogs. However, it also advised that the number could be higher, as the prosecutors may not have recorded the crimes under the proper codes on the system. And last but not least, very sad news from the world of sport, the world generally speaking. In the Irish Daily Star, Friends star and former Top Gear host Matt LeBlanc and his Irish ex-girlfriend led tributes after the death of American rally driver Ken Block. This guy was just super talented. The Californian who competed in the World Rally Championship and was named Rally American Rookie of the Year in 2005, died in a snowmobile incident in Utah on Monday. He was remembered as a true talent and friend, taken far too soon following his death at the age of 55. And he did compete here in County Donegal as well, and the sports team here, Oisin Kelly, would have spoken with him, and spent time with him, as did quite a few others out there, and all of them speaking very highly of him. Sad news, just 55 years of age. Okay, that was a run through some of the stories in the newspapers today. Get involved in the conversation if you wish. You can give Caroline or Donna Marie a call on 07491 25,000. WhatsApps and texts to 086 60 25,000. Right, we'll be back with our first guest on the show, but first we take a quick break.
The newspapers are courtesy of Kelly Centra Mountaintop Letterkenny, the C-Store National Large Forecourt of the Year for 2022.
We have recycling all wrapped up this festive season. Remember, you can recycle paper and cardboard, all plastic packaging and tins and cans in your household recycling bin as long as they are clean, dry and loose. Check out the recycling A to Z on mywaste.ie. Recycle more with Donegal County Council.
Winter sale at Brian McCormick Sports now on, in-store and online. Kids and adults, Nike and Adidas track tops and bottoms clearing from €15. Women's fitness pants, t-shirts and shorts reduced to clear. Getting fit this year? Visit the winter sale at bmcsports.ie. Look the part, play the part. In-store and online. Click and collect on bmcsports.ie.
The world awaits you. Make that dream your next adventure. Cruise the Caribbean. Sail from Crete to Corsica. Soak in Santorini sunsets. Dine on the shores of the Indian Ocean. Stroll through cobbled streets for hidden gems, or bring the little ones to a magical wonderland. Trust the award-winning Atlantic Travel to guide your next adventure. Step through our doorway to the world. Atlantic Travel, Letterkenny.
Come here till I tell you, Aisling. Did you hear Gary in number 43? He's been going for hours.
Stop.
On the phone all day, streaming, messaging.
Stop the lights. Who is it?
On Puss Mobile.
Wait, what?
At €18 a month for unlimited data, calls and texts, it's almost too good to be true. Switch today to your local post office or at unpost.com/mobile and get your first month free. Unpost Mobile, for your world. Fair usage and T's and C's apply. Auto top up €18 for 31 days, unlimited allowance, otherwise 28 days. See website for details.
Now, the Garda Commissioner Drew Harris is going to be visiting Donegal later this month. The chair of the Donegal Joint Policing Committee is Councillor Jerry McMonagle, who joins us on the programme now. Good morning, Jerry. Thanks for taking the time out this morning.
Good morning, Greg, and Happy New Year to you and all the staff at Highland.
And same to you and to yours. This is an opportunity, isn't it, really, to lay out the facts for Drew Harris so that he knows what's going on up here. So that excuse can't, we often hear that senior Gardaí are making their representations, but sometimes they fall on deaf ears in Dublin. This will be an opportunity to put the reality to the top cop, really, effectively.
Yeah, we've been trying to get Commissioner Harris to attend at Donegal JPC now for a number of years. And I've met him on a number of occasions through the police authority meetings and expressed the concerns that were talked about at the JPC around personnel and resources, closure of Garda station, etc., etc. So, look, he's finally agreed. He's got the time now in his diary, and we're looking forward to, as you say, to put it to him directly, the concerns, and to offer that opportunity to the PPN members in the community of the JPC and also the elected members.
What do you have concerns about the future of policing here? I mean, already now, pretty much all calls to Garda stations are diverted to Galway and are dealt with in Galway. So you ring Milford or Letterkenny, you have a concern in your area, now you put through to a civilian in Galway. And then we have the Donegal Garda Division being amalgamated with Sligo and Leitrim. It feels, some might feel, that there's the separation between the force and the public is widening. I'm not saying that is a reality, but do you have concerns in that regard?
Yeah, look, I believe there's a pilot scheme at the minute, and Donegal's partaking in that. I have concerns. I see how this sort of central call area is working in relation to Irish Water and the ESB. I see the difficulties we would have, and indeed the general public have, in describing an area where they live to people in call centres. And I would be really concerned that this will reduce the response times to Garda call-outs, especially at ongoing incidents if you're being referred to a call centre and have to. I know they're saying that an immediate and emergencies that you'll be redirected to your local Garda station, but this is all time consuming. And I think it's a very apt time now for the Commissioner to come and maybe explain this further and how this, because it's obviously part of his overall policing plan.
Because, obviously, routinely the public are invited to contact the 24-hour Garda stations, with information, vehicles acting suspiciously and what have you. And, we wouldn't expect everyone in every station to have an intimate knowledge of every townland in their area, but there is some understanding of it, and presumably that can build a picture. Now that information is going to be referred to a civilian in Galway. How is that processed? How is that logged? How does that go on the system? How does that feed into the intricacies of where patrols are? We've heard, call the Garda station if you're leaving your home, and we can, drive past now and again if you're on holidays. How does that all tie in? My understanding is pretty much every call that would require a Garda response at any level now will be triaged, for want of a better word, in Galway. And that works quite successfully with the fire service, my understanding is. But I think policing is slightly different, slightly more nuanced.
Yeah, and that would be okay even in a city or large town, large urban area situation, but we're in a very rural area in Donegal, and what it also does, Greg, is it removes the personal relationship and the building of that personal relationship between the local community and the members of Garda Síochána. And that is a retrograde step as far as I would be concerned, because I think as long, and we've been saying this since COVID and all, but about building the confidence again of the community and the relationships between the community and the Gardaí. It's quite good at the minute. It could get better. And I don't think having a call centre type scenario with people phoning and getting call centres is going to do that. It's not going to enhance that local relationship between Garda Síochána and the local community.
Yeah,
but so them's all issues that we'll have the opportunity to raise.
Exactly, and I kind of have been focusing a little bit on that one. So I want to hear from you what other concerns. I mean, we do hear regularly from the GRA about training. Guards are supposed to fight crime, but they can't break the speed limit because there's no training there. Inadequate vehicles, staffing issues. I mean, thankfully, it was quiet in Letterkenny over St. Stephen's night and New Year's Eve. But my understanding, there was 4 or 5 Gardaí on duty on both nights. So sometimes it can be, more down to luck than anything else. So run through some of the top concerns you'll be raising with Commissioner Harris.
Well, obviously the top of that list will be Garda resources, personnel, and the vehicles and the resources needed by the Gardaí. Also, the recruitment of local Gardaí, and his plan is to get 300 through every 12 weeks, but this isn't happening. And young people don't seem to be taking or looking at the Gardaí as a serious career path any longer, and we need to change that attitude. But we've also got rising instances of drug use, road safety issues, antisocial behaviour. We had, while you say it was quiet over the Christmas period, I was astounded, to be honest, at the amount of car thefts that there was over the even here in Letterkenny. So there's obviously a lot of criminal activity. There's also the issue of 97% of the county's border being with the 6 counties and the problems that poses. So there's a fair amount for us to discuss with them, and a fair amount of issues have been getting raised at our local JPC meetings over this last number of years. So what we're doing now is that we've read out to all the JPC members, and we've asked them to forward on any concerns, questions that they might have for the Commissioner, so that we will give them to them before the meeting, give them time to look at them, understand them, and maybe come back with very competent and full responses. And then during the course of his presentation, we will allow then for further supplementary questions to be raised. And just to give the Commissioner a flavour of how we in Donegal feel about the new policing model, but more importantly about the lack of resources, which there clearly is in Donegal and has been for a number of years, and how the impact of closing of rural Garda stations and the impact that had on the confidence of the local community.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if he will understand or does understand or have a comprehension of the sort of unique policing situation there is here. We've got this, as you mentioned, so much of the county is bordering the 6 counties. And then, of course, we're landlocked on the other side as well. Do you know what I mean? And on response and all that type of stuff that really needs to be addressed. It'll be interesting to see if he gets what is kind of like on this island, a unique county to police.
Yeah, and they explained the whole new policing model of us being amalgamated, and with Sligo and Leitrim, Donegal, we would like to have a standalone division as it is. We were concerned because it looked like we were losing the superintendent, but just recent weeks it's been confirmed that we won't be, and we'll be keeping the same number of superintendents. Now, the Commissioner is talking to the last Police Authority meeting about giving more autonomy to local sergeants and inspectors. We need to tease that out with them. What exactly does that mean? But the important thing is that Donegal, because we will be then at the top end of the country, will be linked in with Sligo and Leitrim, which are connected to the other divisions down the country. So we are going to become very isolated. So it's very, very important that we don't lose our central base and identity, and that we get the necessary resources, especially in relation to vehicles, to be able to stay in contact with the people, but also to fight crime as it arises around whatever part of the county. So there's a lot of discussion that probably won't be all addressed on the 16th, but at least we'll start the conversation with him.
Yeah, and possibly he might come with good news. He's, had plenty notice of this. He'll be well briefed on what the situation is up here, and he'll want presumably to give some nuggets of positivity. So we'll have to leave some space for maybe a positive outcome in some areas, at least, from this meeting.
Yeah, and the other thing that we as a JPC we'd like to get across to him is it's a good work that the JPC is involved in. And the partnership with Garda Síochána and other agencies here in the county. I mean, we've had a number of very good initiatives around the cybercrime, the Ask Angela, our Garda Youth Awards. We've had a large number of national youth award winners. We have a public order and antisocial behaviour. We're always advocating on behalf of further CCTV, and it's all about building confidences. The local text alerts, the neighbourhood watch, and then we had the property marking machines that we acquired, and that was all done through the work of the JPC, the community and the elected representatives and the Gardaí working together, identifying issues and problems and putting in place solutions. So we'd like to be telling them about that too, and how effective and important joint policing committees are in counties like Donegal.
Yeah, they aren't there just to slag everything off. They're there to proactively work to improve things, and it's been shown as you outlined with that extensive list. Can you ask the councillor to ask the Garda Commissioner about the promised wildlife crime units? Not something I'm familiar with, if I'm completely honest with you, but maybe one of the JPC members will be raising that issue.
Yeah, look, there's a lot of issues to be raised, and we'll certainly raise that around that there. And if the listener would like to send us some more information in relation to that, we'll certainly take it up with them and get a response back to them. They can contact me through the council's my council email.
Right, okay. Listen, thanks for your time this morning. I appreciate it greatly. All right, take care of yourself. That is Councillor Jerry McMonigal. He is chair of the Donegal Joint Policing Committee, and just giving us a preview there of that meeting, which takes place with the Garda Commissioner Drew Harris in Donegal on January 16th. And as you would expect, we'll have a full rundown. We'll have a full rundown from that meeting after the fact. Hi, Greg. Just got my first letter from the postman since Christmas. It's not good news, though. It's another rise in the mortgage. Now, €70 a month more, and they have mica as well. No end to it. I mean, it's just the injury being defective concrete block home. and the insult being an increase in mortgage interest rates. I seem to sense through some information that those on trackers now are, but maybe it's something we should revisit actually, if you'd have an interest in that, that those on trackers now have been recommended to fix at this time. We had, of course, Dr. Joe talking history on the show yesterday. A listener says, Joe's such a wealth of information. A gentleman who looks out for his students, so helpful to young teenagers beginning their careers. Keep up your good work, Joe. Had the pleasure of working with you. Excuse me. Right, over-the-counter products. These are medicines. Over-the-counter products are a rip-off. Once the doctor gives you that prescription, you're on your way to healing. But antibiotics will only work, there's no point taking antibiotics for a common cold, for example. And we're going to take a break. We'll be back with more in the 9 till noon show in just a couple of moments. Stay right where you are.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com.
So you're saying mental health difficulties can be smaller things?
Yeah.
Like trouble sleeping?
Yeah.
Or if I'm always stressed, like?
Yeah.
Or often anxious?
They're all part of your mental health.
Thought those were separate.
Nope. They're all connected.
Hey, how do you know all this anyway?
Sure, I've been there myself.
Anxiety, ongoing stress, low mood or trouble sleeping, they're all part of your mental health. Make the connection and find support that can help at yourmentalhealth.ie from the HSE.
For day-to-day healthcare needs, generations have trusted the experienced staff at McGee's Chemist Letterkenny. From coughs and colds to aches and pains, from vitamin supplements to first aid essentials. McGee's have what you need when you need it, with a full prescription service available daily. McGee's Chemist, Main Street, Letterkenny. For healthcare help and advice you can always trust.
Shrink your bill this January with Dunstore's Double Savers. Save in the aisle on ingredients for a protein-rich chicken casserole. That's 500 grams of chicken thighs, only €3.89. Irish onions and garden peas, 69 cents each. Baby potatoes, carrots and chicken casserole seasoning mix, all for a total of less than €8. Then save again at the till with our 5 of 25 grocery vouchers. Double Savers from Dunn Stores. Always better value. Terms and conditions apply. Voucher can be used on next grocery shop of €25 or more.
Crawford Tiles and More Castlefin. January sale now on. Great discounts in store with up to 20% off tiles, bathware, flooring, plumbing, lights, vinyl and carpet. Job lots on display for sale. Delivery and fitting available. Crawford Tiles and More Castlefin. 914342. January sale now on. Miss it and miss out.
The Restex Beds and Furniture Winter Sale is now in full swing at their showroom at the Mountaintop in Letterkenny, supplying only the finest quality, luxurious Irish-made beds and mattresses with genuine savings throughout our range. We look forward to seeing you at Restex Beds and Furniture Winter Sale.
All right, we're joined on the programme now by Neil Donoghue, Industrial Relations Officer for the North West with the INMO. Good morning to you, Neil. Thanks for taking the call today.
Good morning, Greg. Thank you.
What are you hearing from your members as it relates to working in an incredibly overstretched and under pressure health system over the last, we could go for years, but maybe focus over the last couple of weeks, Neil?
Well, the situation is absolutely dire. Members there in Letterkenny in particular, I met them yesterday. They're distraught. They're very concerned about the safety of the public. They're really struggling to cope with what's happening at the moment. There's a very large attendance in respect of flu, in respect of COVID, RSV. And again, when you have high levels of infection in the community and people are coming into an overcrowded department, that's actually only going to increase there as well within the hospital. So they're very concerned about that. There's very vulnerable patients sitting on chairs awaiting treatment, people waiting an hour for hours and hours in ambulances, up to 10, 11 hours we're hearing. Patients being treated in ambulances. I mean, this is unprecedented, even what we're hearing from the HSE management there in Letterkenny. This is completely unprecedented. They're overwhelmed with what they're trying to cope with at the moment.
And they are, but it must be very difficult to get up in the morning or whatever time of the day you get up for your shift and head into that working environment.
Absolutely. I mean, staff are attending there for very long shifts. They're not getting breaks. They're completely burnt out anyway from the onset of COVID. I mean, this has been relentless for the last couple of years and it's worsened. I mean, it has resulted in a lot of difficulties for the HSE in recruiting and retaining staff. I know the HSE have put a lot of work into that. But for the people who are there day in, day out, this is wearing them down completely. People cannot continue like that forever, and we're very concerned about how it's going to impact on the health services into the future. But in this very immediate sense, we need the HSE at a national level to come out and do something urgent to resolve it.
What can be done, Neil, that might work, say, for instance, locally here in for Sligo and Letterkenny University Hospitals? What could the HSE do that might alleviate things in the immediate...
I think if we look at... I mean, we were calling... Our members were calling for assistance months ago. I mean, we were having discussions around the twindemic that was coming of flu and COVID. This was predicted months in advance, and the HSE seemed to do nothing for the acute hospitals, nothing that's going to impact now. And what we're hearing from the HSE nationally is they're telling people just not to attend hospital if you can avoid it. The people who are attending hospital are sick. The people who are going in through those doors genuinely need care. Management and staff are looking for efficiencies everywhere, but it cannot be just up to them to try and fix the problem.
Can I just
we need the HSE
catch on with the
national level to say what they're planning.
Yeah, I want to go back on two things you just mentioned there, because it's very important, and I mentioned this on the programme yesterday. I don't understand how it seems okay or acceptable, and Stephen Donnelly's going in to his cabinet colleagues, and I wonder would any of them pull him up on this today, to sort of have a meeting with the HSE and come out and sort of go, oh, you know what, it's going to get worse before it gets better, as if there was no warning of this. You quite rightly pointed out, this was all warned. We were told this was going to happen, and you know, I don't understand how it is acceptable in this day and age, because, to use that old analogy, let's pretend this were a private company. Heads would be rolling left, right and centre. Someone is severely, severely dropping the ball here, Neil, in terms of preparing for what we knew was coming. And there seems to be zero accountability. And it's the public and your members that are either losing their lives or working in incredibly difficult situations. And zero accountability. It doesn't seem to actually matter to the powers that be. No one is held to account.
No, and what matters to our members at the moment and to the patients coming through the doors is that something urgent is done. That whatever mistakes have been made, the HSE now step up to resolve it and come out with something fairly urgent and drastic. Because this is something that isn't going to resolve in an immediate sense. We don't know when this is going to resolve. A lot of people don't feel that we've even hit the peak yet. So something urgent has to happen here. The staff on the ground must be supported. Management must be supported. And the absolutely horrendous conditions the patients are expected to deal with need to be resolved.
And we have this situation where we have this situation where the HSE, the Health Service Executive, are asking the public not to go to hospitals. And we have NowDoc and GPs saying, you know, go to your pharmacist first. Or, you know, I mean, that's a broken health system.
And again, we'd represent members in the community areas, in NowDoc, in various areas right across the health services, and they're all telling us that they're under-resourced, that they're struggling to manage the levels of work that are coming in. And this is resulting in delayed care for people in the public. It's resulting in potential adverse outcomes for patients. That's not good enough. If somebody is attending for an emergency service there in an emergency department, waiting for up to 10 hours to even get in the doors from and then once you get in the doors, to not even have staff available is horrendous. To not even have a trolley. People are sitting on chairs. They're not even on trolleys in a lot of circumstances. This is an absolute disaster at the moment, and the HSE need to do more.
What could be done in Letterkenny over the next few days or weeks to alleviate the situation as far as you can determine?
The difficulty here is the failure to plan has really, from what we can see, it's tied the hands of local management. They're under-resourced. When we've met with them, they've told us they're doing everything within their power to try and manage discharges, to try and expedite discharges. They're facing challenges in getting beds in the communities. There's challenges everywhere. We can't continue to just listen to what the problems are. We need somebody at a higher level who has control of the resources to say what they're going to do to fix it.
That's a really important point there, because everyone seems to know what the situation is, but no one seems to have a plan to actually fix it. And you bring it up with the health minister and he says, well, we've just pumped 30 million euro into Letterkenny University Hospital. That doesn't cut it anymore. It doesn't, people, we need more than that, because you have problems at the hospital. You talk about people being delayed in ambulances, then that delays ambulances getting to emergencies. It's a ripple effect.
Absolutely. And again, it's been said a lot, even on Highland Radio here, around the capacity issues in Letterkenny Hospital. And when is that ever going to resolve? When are they ever going to see the beds that they do need? And it's a longer term goal. That's not going to fix things in the immediate sense. But why are we waiting years to see it happen? But right now, at this moment in time, the HSE had time to resolve this months ago when they were notified of the concerns, and they didn't do anything. So we need to see what is the plan now. What are they going to do to fix it?
And it's a management-heavy company. There should be people that you can speak to that will tell you what the plan is.
Well, the difficulty is we're not hearing the answers in terms of fixing it. The only piece that we've seen come out into the media, especially, is around hospital avoidance. Use other services. The other services are strained also. So that's not realistic, and we really have to call the HSE out here.
Yeah, and I think, I think the health minister reiterating what the HSE says, there needs to be more than that. You know what I mean? He is effectively the top of all of this, and I'm not having a go or a witch hunt, but I just can't understand how it's acceptable that he walks out to a pack of journalists and says, yeah, well, I was just in with the HSE, and they say, you know what, it's going to get worse before it gets better. That's not a solution. That's identifying the problem. We know what the problems are. You can speak to anyone in any hospital, they will tell
anyone who walks through the doors, anyone who's trying to use the service, anyone who's turning up for work day in, day out to try and protect the very vulnerable public that need assistance at the minute. They know what the problems are. We need answers from the people who are at the top, and we don't seem to be getting them.
The INMO seem to be of the opinion that the return of mandatory mask wearing in crowded settings would it maybe slow it down a little bit, as a short firewall. What is the thinking behind that call?
Well, we've seen how effective masks were during the COVID pandemic when it was at its height. At the moment, it's respiratory illnesses, again, that are causing a lot of the pressures in the hospitals. Mask wearing would slow the spread of the infections at the very least, and try and give the hospitals a chance in order to get through the patients that are attending. It would help, absolutely. And again, I know a lot of people may not want to go back to mask wearing, but this is about protecting the most vulnerable in our society. Wearing masks could prevent that.
And finally, I presume your members here, even, for the most part, almost unanimously, when there is criticism of the health service, there's praise for the staff working in that. There is an understanding amongst the public. I mean, the public understand it. The nurses, the midwives, they are of the public as well. But I just don't know how long they can keep going into that kind of a working environment before they say enough is enough, before they're off themselves with physical or mental health issues. I mean, this cannot continue, or else we're going to have no one to operate the health service.
Well, I mean, when we talk about the workforce that we're dealing with here, nurses and midwives, they start out with a tremendous generosity of wanting to do good. They go into the profession to help people. They go in to work day and night to do good. And the difficulty is they are definitely experiencing tremendous amounts of stress and burnout. I mean, that will, again, present itself in terms of, the physical and psychological manifestations. We know that sick leave is at an all-time high as well. They're not immune to the viruses that are coming in the door. They're going to experience that as well. So they're putting themselves at risk always to try and protect the public. And we need to see more support for them now.
Thanks for all your time this morning, Neil. I appreciate it.
Okay.
Take care of yourself. That's Neil Donoghue, Industrial Relations Officer for the North West with the INMO. Mary T. Sweeney is an A2 representative, joins us on the programme now. Good morning to you, Mary T.
Good morning, Greg. How are you? And Happy New Year to you.
And Happy New Year to you and yours as well. You have been contacted by, as I think I've inundated with contacts from people. What is the case of
a
this
local
person?
lady had contacted me. One of her family had gone off the road with the ice, and apparently there's been a horrific number of people with ice, with slips and falls. But from a stranger, it was out in a rural area, and a good Samaritan came along, saw the car over the hedge and went in and helped the driver get out. Initially the driver appeared concussed and was bleeding from the nose and ear, and phoned an ambulance, and the service told him, the Good Samaritan, that there would be at least a 4-hour waiting list waiting time for an ambulance to get to that area by Castlefin direction. And the man was horrified and got the phone number of a family member and phoned the family to let them know this person had gone off with the ice. The ice was treacherous. And so he had been asked by the ambulance services to take this person to the hospital. And the mother that phoned me went to the hospital and met them. And they... but the reality, it was chaos. What they saw in the hospital was absolute chaos. No money's going to fix it.
Just before we get to that, I mean, you know, this is someone potentially could have spinal, neck, concussive injury. The ambulance services recommended that a member of the public transport them to the hospital. I mean, that seems to go against what advice might have been previously.
Especially with it being down an embankment, and they'd had a cage at the back. There was a cage in the vehicle at the back and the window at the front. So they went from back, even though there was a seatbelt on, they went from back to front with the embankment. So there was definitely a potential for head injury as well. And they were absolutely petrified at what outcome was going to happen. And this person was sitting still on a chair at whatever hour. I got a phone call late last night. I think it was 11:30, 12:15. They were still sitting in a chair, but they were seeing even worse situations in people that had been told they just had a stroke and they're sitting in a chair. No beds, no facilities, no privacy. You know, they heard lots of the medical conditions being discussed in front of them when they sat there. This is not acceptable, and no money is going to fix this until we get accountability and reform. But to deal with the current crisis of the respiratory problem, by opening up services like what we have, where we have qualified nurses in Lifford and Stranorder and in Dunlow and Carndonagh, open up respiratory clinics where people can get free access to the steroids that they need to treat 3 times a day to treat the respiratory services. My own kids, unfortunately, I had to use a nebulizer here with steroids for one of mine with bronchiolitis, and more neighbours used to borrow it, which kept those kids out of hospital. We need to think outside the box here, Greg. We need to start opening up service availability for conditions that we know the condition, we know what they need. They need either a Pulmicort, a Ventolin, they need a steroid, a nebulizer to administer some sort of steroid to help the lungs. Open up the respiratory nurse clinics around those situations where we have nurses.
Is that? It's not something I've dealt with this side of health matters, but is that what GPs do, or can GPs not be doing that?
But GPs wouldn't have the time to do it, Greg, because if there was nurse clinics in a specialist room, I only know from my own family experience. My eldest boy was prem and was left with bronchiolitis. But the HSE knows this. They're the experts. They shouldn't need me to tell them this. Where's all the lateral thinkers in the HSE? Where's all our leaders, our brain? The brain drain of our talent has gone out of the country. We need to keep the people here. We need to ask simple questions. How do you treat a respiratory infection? The doctors know it, but they haven't the support and the backup to open up dedicated nurses and clinics. Let the nurses now allow nurses to provide prescriptions for respiratory conditions. You know, there's a huge
shortage
of science in it.
There is a huge shortage of those nurses as well, which contributes to these problems, and GP nurses as well. I struggle to understand how it's acceptable that the Minister for Health, again, I'm not having a go at him, but we are in a crisis here, and we have to have a conversation. I just don't understand that he's saying, well, I've been told what the problems are, here they are, unfortunately it's going to get worse before they get better. That I would expect, a plinth saying, this is an emergency here. These are the measures I'm introducing immediately. This is what we're going to do right now. The same kind of approach, we all saw what happened, say, for instance, at the start of COVID. It was all hands on deck. There was no money was too much. No resource was too scarce. And yet this is... Yeah. Well, just remind us of what he said about this morning.
The modelling is difficult in terms of being accurate. However, what I can tell you is the HSE's view was that this is likely to get worse. We are likely to see more pressure. They don't believe that the flu wave has peaked. And so the question is, well, what can we do about that? The healthcare professionals have said to us all over many years, we need more beds, and they're right.
I mean... So that's the Minister for Health saying, we don't know what the modelling is. The HSE say things are going to get worse before they get better. Then he says, well, what's the problem? And then he says, well, we need more beds. But how does that in any way underline or stress the crisis that the health service is in at the moment. People are dying. I don't need a minister to tell me what we already know. Sure, you know it. The INMO could have just told us that. I can get any consultant from Letterkenny that will tell us all that. We need solutions, fixes. We need this to be treated as the national emergency that it is.
This is exactly what I'm saying. And it was nurses and doctors that taught me that when you have a respiratory condition, what you want to do, especially when there's children involved, is stay out of hospital, even for our elderly and our vulnerable. So we need to think outside the box. And we need to say to people, like when my 26-year-old was born, I had a very good GP, the late Dr. Scally, and she had arranged for me to get a nebulizer at home, which was fairly unheard of in those days. But that saved him going into hospital on a frequent basis, and I subsequently lent it out to people that I knew that had children that had really bad respiratory conditions, which is probably not approved, but they had already got diagnosed medical conditions where they would have went into hospital to get the same treatment as what we kept here at home.
Well, I know people. So I know. I was contacted by someone who contacted a out of hours doctor service and was told that we're not dealing with respiratory situations at the moment. People can't get appointments for this stuff. So they end up in the ED as well. You see, I know what you're saying, and you're right, but people can't even get. Some people in some areas can't get to see a GP for these type of things, and what happens is as you would know better.
But the pharmacists, when they have a prescription on file, should be allowed to deliver those medicines that are needed. Nowadays, a nebulizer is only £30 in Aldi or Lidl,
but
or
you
35 euros. I can't remember.
We had Tom Murray on yesterday, and I can't remember exact phrase of it, but because of the crisis that we're in, they want the latitude to be able to give antibiotics, not the ones that are written down by the doctor because they're out of stock, but a similar antibiotic that in their experience they know works, and they can't even get the minister to invoke that protocol. Why?
Well,
I
see in the north they're moving. All their pharmacists are now going to be automatically allowed to prescribe from now on, coming forward. So that's somewhere we need to move. We have prescribing nurses, which is very slow in rolling out in Ireland. But that's for the long-term educational planning of our health service. But there's loads of things we can be doing. But there's no willpower or knowledge or there's no appreciation in the management of the HSE to sort this out. This is not insurmountable. This is something that can be fixed. We are providing some of the best healthcare staff for the world. The four corners of the world are coming to Donegal, to Ireland, to employ our healthcare trainees, doctors, nurses, whatever. And yet, why can we not provide the best healthcare service here?
Well, what's happening here at the moment?
The problem is in the management.
Yeah, what's happening here at the moment is a recruitment drive for other parts of the world. Perhaps not the NHS because they've got their own problems, but for some reason we seem to copy their model, a model that clearly is broken and not working and is being destroyed. People think that maybe the HSE wouldn't allow nurses to write prescriptions because of the fear of being sued if something went wrong. But look, we're providing indemnity left, right, and centre. The reality is this has moved.
You covered one of the greatest assets that we had was our step-down beds. On multiple occasions, when the people in the streets try to call to the HSE to keep our beds open and increase the step-down beds in Lifford and in Stranraer. There's no reason with these people when they take a notion in their heads to close down step-down beds. They are the most important for the vulnerable elderly, especially, who need those beds at this time, especially this time of the year.
Yeah. I just wonder where we're going to be in a year, unless someone takes this by the reins. Where are we going to be in a year, 2 years, 3 years? This situation is. I mean, in speaking to the rep there from the INMO, like it wasn't a very optimistic outlook. And if you just indulge me for a second, Mary T, it's not. The important thing, obviously, is people getting the care when they need it now. But there's parents listening to this that are scared stiff that a child might become sick. There's immunocompromised people that are afraid that they might catch something, and they're afraid, and perhaps they shouldn't be because you will get treated, but they're afraid that they might get so sick that they need the health service. That's where we're at now. People are living in fear for fear of catching something that they might need to go into the health service because of all what we're talking about here. We can't ignore it, but there's so much anxiety out there over this as well, Mary T.
This is something I have had a huge issue, and I've had this out with you on the show about the anxiety and the media and the way it's been driven as a level of anxiety for the last 2 years. that we need to start building confidence back up in people. Many people are afraid, and there should be no need for fear. If somebody's genuinely ill, of course they should present in hospital. And I listened to a consultant in the Royal Victoria on the news last night, and he was saying that 5% of the people presenting at A&E are genuinely considered to really need to be there. They're the really sick people that need immediate care in the Royal Victoria in Belfast. So if we were to presume that there's something of a similar nature here, why not do what I'm trying to get done with Aontú, is to set up a GP service clinic in the A&E department.
I'm not contradicting you, but listen, at the end of the day, there's 1,000 people that have been deemed sick enough that they need a hospital bed. And they're waiting on trolleys for days on end. I understand
but
what you're coming from.
You need to see how many are lying in beds that don't need to be there, that need to be at home but have no care package.
Fair
we
enough.
have no carers to look after them.
No
or they need
packages.
step-down beds to get out.
No, I agree with you on that. That is definitely an issue. Mary T, thanks for your time this morning. I appreciate it. Mary T Sweeney there, Donegal Aontú representative.
Text or WhatsApp your view to Greg on 086 60 25,000.
Every year, about 2,800 people in Ireland get bowel cancer. Bowel screening helps to reduce your risk of developing it. If you're aged 60 to 69, you can register today for a free bowel screen test kit. Once you've done the test at home, return it by free post and we'll test your sample for levels of blood. If you need any more tests, we'll let you know. Register today at hse.ie/bowel screen or free phone 1800 45 45 55 from the HSE.
Keep out the cold this winter and ring Fleming for their full range of garage doors, agri doors, insulated doors, milking parlour doors. Fleming, 91 48 234.
It's the Right Price Tiles and Wood Flooring half price sale. Get up to 50% off all tiles. Wood flooring, bathware, cladding, everything's reduced. Tiles from only $8.99 per square yard and wood flooring from only $11.99 per square yard. Right Price Tiles and Wood Flooring half price January sale is now on.
Callahan's Gala and Go Burt, your one-stop family shop. Drive in to our newly renovated spacious forecourt. Fill up with our upgraded modern fuel pumps and save with our Keen Go fuel prices. Located on the main Letterkenny to Derry Road, we're the ideal pit stop on your Donegal journey. Fast flow fuel, self-service or attended with a smile.
Sure, it's all go at Callahan's.
Highland Radio weather updates with Ireland West Airport. Thinking of a sun holiday this summer with the family? Fly to Alicante, Malaga, Faro, Lanzarote, Majorca and Milan with Ryanair. Ireland West Airport. Don't just take off, take it easy.
So, rather windy today with bright spells and scattered showers. Some heavy, temperatures 9 to 11 degrees in fresh to strong and gusty west to southwest winds. Mostly dry early tonight and chilly for a time with lowest temperatures of 4 to 7 degrees. Okay. A caller says, Greg, don't think me running around with a mask on in a house and car going to stop the trolley crisis. You're going to have to come up with a better solution than this. Well, I'm not going to be inserted into this debate about whether... I mean, look, the way I would look at it, if I have a cold and I don't want to give it to the boys at home, I stay away from them. That's it. Right? So, and if it was pretty bad, I'd wear a mask to protect them. That's the only way I would look at it, right? That's what I would always have done pre-COVID, whatever. I'm not saying I would have put a mask on, but I would have stayed away from them. I wouldn't have tried to avoid breathing near them, try to avoid giving them what they have. If people are going around with lots of RSV, colds, flus, whatever it is, and they're all intermingling and we need to sort of stop everyone getting sick at the same time, I presume a mask will catch some of the spit drops and all that kind of stuff. That's what they wear in hospitals. That's what the doctors and nurses wear for the most part. So, you know, I'm not going to drive around in the car wearing a mask either. And I'm not saying I'm going to wear a mask in any environment, but let's be able to have the conversation without becoming like making out people as stupid for even talking about it, which you've tried to do with me. Hi, the HSE is a joke. My daughter worked there and was treated terribly by management. As a result, she had to leave and no one takes any responsibility. One backs the other up and it's terrible. No wonder staff are leaving and things are in a mess. The staff are being mistreated in the health service, they say. Right, I have to jam a break in here before the news and obituary notices at 10. Stay tuned. We've lots more coming up after the news.
Cutting through the spin. The 9 till noon show on Highland Radio.
Hi, Paddy here at Shane Conley Cars in Donegal Town. Are you looking to upgrade your car?
With Sheehan Conley Cars, you'll find mix and models for every budget. Great finance options, and we also accept trade-ins. Check out SheehanConleyCars.com or call in to us at Sheehan Conley Cars from Lonher Road, Donegal Town.
From the smallest shrub to the largest tree in an awkward place, Donnelly Tree Services provide a complete range of tree surgery services. Whether you need to remove a dangerous tree or some nuisance branches, Donnelly Tree Services have the experience and expertise to carry out tree surgery to the highest of professional standards. Call 083 005 9939. Donnelly Tree Services, Donegal. No job is too small, no tree is too tall.
The fines for many driving offences have doubled and could now cost you as much as €160. €160. That's enough for a brand new pair of runners, or some swanky headphones, or a year of streaming, or a nice meal out somewhere, or tickets to the theatre. Don't get fined. There are better things to spend your money on. For a full list of updated fines, visit rsa.ie. Always follow the rules of the road. A message from the Road Safety Authority.
Dillon's Hotel, Letterkenny, is the perfect place to celebrate special occasions. Dillon's exclusive function rooms cater for up to 120 guests for any occasion, from corporate celebrations, presentations and networking events, to milestone birthdays, anniversaries and retirement parties. There's audio-visual equipment, integrated PA systems and even a private bar. Dillon's Hotel, perfectly located in Letterkenny Town Centre with award-winning food and 5-star service. Call 91-22977.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, it's 10 o'clock. Donald Kavanagh at the Highland Radio News Desk. The Health Minister will update senior ministers this morning on the overcrowding issues facing Irish hospitals. It comes after the Irish Nurses and Midwives Organisation counted 931 people awaiting beds yesterday morning. That's a new record. There were 52 in Letterkenny and 48 in Sligo, a Northwest total of 100. Neil Donoghue is the INMO's Industrial Relations Officer in the Northwest. He told Greg on today's 9 till noon show that their members at LUH are distraught and burnt out.
This is unprecedented, even what we're hearing from the HSE management there in Letterkenny. This is completely unprecedented. They're overwhelmed with what they're trying to cope with at the moment. Staff are attending there for very long shifts. They're not getting breaks. They're completely burnt out anyway from the onset of COVID. I mean, this has been relentless for the last couple of years, and it's worsened. And it has resulted in a lot of difficulties for the HSE in recruiting and retaining staff. I know the HSE put a lot of work into that, but for the people who are there day in, day out, this is wearing them down completely.
There are fewer beds in Irish hospitals now than there were in 1981. That's according to emergency medicine Dr. Lisa Cunningham, who says the system is currently at breaking point. She says increased bed capacity is the only answer to this crisis.
It is definitely the worst that we've ever seen. We physically have no space to see patients. We have less beds now than we had in 1981. In 1981, we had 16,000 acute beds in Ireland. We have 11,000 acute beds now, which is the same as 2002. This is Department of Health bed capacity. The last one was March 21. You can look at all these. These are their own reports.
House prices rose by just over 9% last year in Donegal, according to the latest analysis report published this morning by daft.ie. The average house in Donegal is just under €197,000 compared to a national average of just under 310,000. This time last year, the Donegal rise was 14%. Economist Ronan Lyons is the author of the daft.ie report. He says people moving out of the cities during the COVID era created a lot of demand in the regions, and in particular in Connacht Ulster. However, he says that's now eased significantly.
Earlier in the year, prices in Munster were increasing at 14% year on year, and indeed in Connacht they were up almost 20%. Both of those markets now have cooled significantly, and they're in line with the national average with increases over the course of the year of about 6 or 7%. What that means is that those COVID increases that we saw, they're over in terms of dramatic increases over the course of 6, 9, 12 months in 2021 and into 2022.
All aspects of oil emergency planning could be put on a statutory footing. It's part of a government plan to strengthen the state's capacity to respond to a potential oil emergency. With more detail, here's Eamon Falvey.
Ireland currently has an adequate oil reserve and a disruption to supply is thought unlikely. But the coalition is aware of the impact any disruption would have on households and businesses. This move is part of the commitment to ensuring the risk is prepared for. The government's approach is in keeping with that of other EU member states. Key measures to be introduced in the new legislation include clarity around the powers of the minister and how quickly they can be deployed to control the supply and distribution of fuel in an emergency, putting all aspects of oil emergency planning on a statutory footing, and establishing a register of oil suppliers to ensure fast communication to retailers.
Weather forecast Met Éireann tell us it'll be rather windy today with bright spells and scattered showers. Some of those showers heavy in top temperatures of 9 to 11 degrees Celsius. Fresh to strong and gusty west to southwest winds. Tonight mostly dry to start. Chilly for a time with lowest overnight temperatures 4 to 7 degrees Celsius. Becoming milder as we head toward morning. Outbreaks of rain and drizzle spreading from the south with moderate south to southwest breezes. They'll increase fresh and gusty later in the night. It'll be windy tomorrow with scattered outbreaks of rain and drizzle. Heavier and more persistent rainfalls developing toward tomorrow evening. Clear spells and a few showers will follow from the west later. Top temperatures on Thursday 9 to 11 degrees Celsius, again in strong southwest winds. And that's Highland Radio News. We're back with news headlines again at 11 o'clock. Good morning. The obituary notices for this Wednesday morning, the 4th of January. The death has taken place of Kathleen O'Donnell, née Sweeney, Kilult Falcara, formerly of Baroness Falcara. Her remains are reposing at her late residence. Funeral from there tomorrow morning for 12 noon Requiem Mass in Christ the King Church, Gorthahork, with burial afterwards in the adjacent cemetery. Funeral Mass can be viewed live on mcnmedia.tv. Rosary at 9 o'clock tonight with house private pleas after the Rosary and before the funeral tomorrow. Donations in lieu of flowers if desired to the Irish Cancer Society, care of any family member. The death has taken place of Packy Farron, Main Street, Clonmany, reposing at his home. Funeral from there on Friday afternoon at 1:45, going to St Mary's Church, Clonmany for Requiem Mass at 2 o'clock, with burial afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Family flowers only please, donations in lieu if desired to St Columkill Village, care of any family member, or Comiskey Funeral Directors. House private pleas from 10 p.m. to 10 a.m. and on the morning of the funeral. Funeral Mass can be viewed live on churchservices.tv. The death has taken place of Phyllis Kelly, née Doherty, Woodlands Letterkenny, formerly of Manor Cunningham. Phyllis's remains will repose at her late residence from 12 noon until 10 o'clock this evening, with Rosary at 9. Funeral from there tomorrow afternoon at 12:15, going to the Church of the Irish Martyrs, Letterkenny, for 1 o'clock Requiem Mass, which can be viewed live on the Church of the Irish Martyrs YouTube channel. Interment afterwards in Newleck Cemetery, Letterkenny. Family flowers only please, donations in lieu of flowers if desired to the Donegal Hospice, care of any family member. Family time please before the funeral tomorrow. The death has taken place of Donal Kelly, Dubala, Letterkenny. Donal's remains will repose at his late residence today from 12 noon until 10 o'clock this evening, with Rosary at 9. Removal from there tomorrow, Thursday morning at 10:30, going to St Patrick's Church, Drumkeen, for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass, followed by interment in the adjoining cemetery. Family time please before the funeral tomorrow. Family flowers only please. Donations in lieu of flowers if desired to the Donegal Hospice, care of any family member. The death has taken place of Agatha Gallagher, née Boyle, 21 Meadow Crescent, Sign Mills, formerly of Strabane, reposing at her home. Funeral from there tomorrow morning at 10:30 for Requiem Mass in St Teresa's Church, Sign Mills at 11 o'clock. Interment afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Donations in lieu of flowers please to the Foyle Hospice, care of Quigley Funeral Directors. Family time please from 11 o'clock tonight. The Requiem Mass can be viewed live via the parish webcam. The death has occurred of Catherine Campbell, Corramone, Ballabafay. Her remains are reposing at the family home. Funeral from there tomorrow morning at 10:15 for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass in the Church of Mary Immaculate, Stranorder, with interment afterwards in Drumbo Cemetery. The Requiem Mass will be streamed live via the parish webcam. Family time please from 9 o'clock tonight and before the funeral tomorrow. The death has occurred of James Patton, Carn, Ballybofey. Remains reposing at the family home. Funeral from there tomorrow afternoon at 1:30 for service of Thanksgiving in St Anne's Church, Monellan Crossroads, Killygordon at 2:00. Interment afterwards in the adjoining churchyard. Family time, please, from 10:00 tonight and before the funeral tomorrow. The death has occurred of John Kelly, Strigadi, Terman. John's remains are reposing at his home. Funeral from there to St Columba's Church, Terman, tomorrow for Requiem Mass at 12 noon, with burial afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Family time, please, from 11:00 tonight. Donations in lieu of flowers to the Claddagh Ward University Hospital, Galway, care of any family member. The death has occurred of Sean Crawford, Gortna Grace, Castlefin. Funeral from his home this morning at 10:20 for 11:00 Requiem Mass in St Columba's Church, Dunnyloop. Interment afterwards in the adjoining churchyard. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu if desired to the Donegal Hospice, care of any family member or Charles Lynch, funeral director. The death has taken place of Priscilla Rolston, formerly of 39, Prehen Park and Convoy. Funeral service will take place this afternoon in Wright Presbyterian Church at 2:30, followed by burial in the adjoining cemetery. No flowers, please. Donations in lieu if desired to the Friends of Spruce at McGovern Hospital. And the death has occurred of Dinny Byrne, Marine Drive, Killybegs. Remains reposing at his residence from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. today. Removal tomorrow morning at 10:30 to St Mary of the Visitation Church, Killybegs for 11:00 funeral mass. Burial afterwards in the local cemetery. The mass will be streamed live on mcnmedia.tv. House private, please, before the funeral tomorrow. Family flowers only, please. For more details, including any family health guidelines for wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
Maldron Hotels really are an escape from the norm. That's why we've left the studio to record this for real. Live at a show. Oh,
please take your seats.
Second row from the back. Join us, or wrap up and go stargazing along the coast, pick up some bits at a local market, and cozy up in a snug somewhere special. Wherever you go, you can save on every room, every night when you click on Maldron at maldronhotels.com. T's and C's apply.
Okay, you're very welcome back to the 9 till noon show. Good morning. If you are just joining us, your bingo numbers are on the way. But first, to some of your comments. We have always kicked the can down the road, says this listener. We never get any answers or solutions, just more and more of the same old, same old. Now it's come home to roost. Add into the mix, we've added almost 70,000 more people into our population. A caller says, Greg, they won't bring back masks, but you're not allowed into a healthcare setting without one. Another, how come Christmas Day there were no delays getting through A and E? I know ones that had to go and there were only 2 or 3 people sitting there on Christmas Day, they say. I'm not sure what the situation is. I know as it now, Doc, on Christmas Day, so people still were getting sick. A caller says we need to go back to wearing masks in public places to stop COVID and flu. It's basic, but it works. Another, hi, I had a lovely walk on the beach in Rathmullen on Saturday last with family, including young grandchildren. Know what destroyed it? Dogs. Why do dog owners think that their dog should have a free run on the beach when there's so many children around? Are all dogs not meant to be kept on leads? And if so, who is meant to monitor the situation? And back to mortgages. The problem with trying to fix your tracker mortgage is if you are with Ulster Bank that's closing and have MICA, no other bank would change it, I would say. That is, of course, an ever-present problem. Anytime we're talking about mortgages and things like that there, the situation is always, and house insurance, the situation is always going to be different for those affected by defective concrete products. And that's why we've dedicated so much time over the years to highlight that issue. All right, Paddy Rooney is going to be joining us. He's a former assistant general manager at Letterkenny University Hospital. I want to get his insight into what's happening with the health service at the moment. That's coming up after the break.
It's time for NCBI Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Wednesday, the 4th of January. You're playing on the blue sheet. The reference number is S3. It's game number 1. The numbers are 18, 90, 78, 24, 39, 42, 54, 25, 40, and finally 89. Phone your claim to 9104833 before 8 tonight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your NCBI bingo information at highlandradio.com.
I saw your Be Good baker running by again the other day, says I to old Mr. Brennan. Ah, yes, says he. I've never seen her stand still. And she's running rings around the rest of us with our Brennan's Be Good bread. Only 60 calories a slice. 60 calories, says I. That's just a whole meal, is it? No, says he, it's the whole meal, the whole grain and the white. 60 calories a slice and high in fibre, whatever way you slice it. That's why anything baked is better with Brennan's. Today's bread today.
If over the holidays you decide it's time to change your car, then why not treat yourself to a new Kia in 2023? Make an inquiry on our website and we'll be in touch to arrange your purchase when we return in the new year. We have cars ready to drive away in January, so visit imotors.ie. iMotors would like to wish everyone a happy new year.
Another Christmas gone, another year begun. Another opportunity to do those things you've been meaning to do for so long. Maybe doing something about your hearing loss is one of those things. At Hidden Hearing, we are the hearing experts. Our expert audiologists will assess your needs and recommend what's right for you. The results can be life-changing. Book a free hearing test today. Go to hiddenhearing.ie or call 1-800-370-000. Hidden Hearing. Your hearing is our expertise.
Have you seen that Grant Shoes Buncrana have their sale on?
Yeah, I love Grant Shoes. They're the best for comfortable shoes, amazing service, great value, and better still, Grants are local and family run.
Grant Shoes Buncrana, sale now on.
All right, Paddy Rooney, the former Assistant General Manager at Letterkenny University Hospital, joins us now. Paddy, good morning to you.
Good morning, Greg. How are you?
I appreciate your time, as always, and thanks for accepting the invite. I mean, obviously, we saw record figures in terms of overcrowding yesterday, the highest in 20 years, I think, since these figures have been tracked or logged. But, I mean, it'd be very easy to forget for some that this is a historic problem. This is nothing new. I mean, obviously, there's a scale issue here, but these problems have been identified for a long time now.
They have. I'm retired now, Greg, 5 years, and I within that time period, I started to do your Friday morning gig about the review of the events of the week, and I suppose the very clear thinking of many people who were contributors to that programme, and even people to your programme outside of that gig, have been sort of given a clear impression here that the problems within the hospital were internal and the solutions were internal. Now, I'm not trying to say that things is perfect in the hospital right across the board, but they're not. But every Band 3 and Band 4 hospital in the country is creaking and breaking under the pressure here. And I think it was very generous and very gracious, actually, of Niall O'Donoghue, the Irish Nurses and Midwifery union rep that was on this morning, and he made reference to the fact that actually hospital management needs support in this too, because this seems to be gone beyond being able to manage it and to be able to sustain it. I mean, it's okay if it happened over a couple of days, but it's going on now over a couple of months, and I have a funny feeling this is not going to settle down anytime soon.
Is it as simple as this? That, I mean, obviously there is a hiring and a recruitment issue. The amount of beds we have is somewhat static. They claim they've gone up 1,000 across a country where we need perhaps at least 5,000 or 6,000. That's not going to have an impact. But yet, obviously, very dramatically, our population has increased and is naturally increasing also. Are those the key factors, do you think?
Well, there are calls from a lot of quarters, particularly from the Irish Medical Organisation and the Irish Hospital Consultants Association, about putting in extra beds. I think Dr. Patter Gilligan, a consultant in Bowman Hospital in Dublin, said that there's a need for 5,000 beds. But additional beds alone, Greg, aren't going to fix this, because remember back prior to the 2019 general election, you and I and others had a conversation about the famous 19 short stay beds in the hospital, as if that was going to be a panacea for something. And I said at the time that was going to give the hospital about relief for about 6 months, and I don't think they even got that out of it. There has to be a lot more than that. I mean, if you remember back, Dr. Ken Mulpeter, consultant physician, was on your program about maybe, was it 11 or 12 weeks ago, and he talked, he expressed his exasperation, I think if that's the right pronunciation, about what the Department of Health and the HSE were doing about appointing 51 additional consultants in emergency medicine to deal with the overcrowding in the emergency department. Now, he knew, I knew, everybody else knows now that there is just a complete waste of money, because that's not what the problem are. There has to be a before hospital service, and hospitals have to be turned into a 24/7 service, because they're not at the moment.
Can you explain that? Can you explain that in terms of the hospitals on a 24-hour service?
Well, hospitals right across the state, they all operate in the same model, and this model of delivery of care was literally set up in the 1950s and 60s, and it hasn't really changed since then. And by that I mean that from 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, the hospital is working at full throttle. All of the consultants are on duty on the ground. All diagnostics is opened, inpatient or day case activity, endoscopy, oncology, outpatients, and everything is going. But there is a dramatic shift in the tenure of delivery of service within the hospital when 5 o'clock comes, because all the consultant cover then goes to on-call. Now, I accept the fact that some of them are in duty, but remember, they can't be in all the time, because these men and women have to turn up for duty at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning, so the following morning. So it's unreasonable to expect them, while they're on call, to be in the hospital and then to work. They can't work all of the time because that would be completely unsafe. There's no diagnostics. I mean, MRI shuts down, cardiac investigations shuts down, CT is only available on call basis, and patients have to meet a certain criteria before a CT will be done, because remember, it's consultant radiologists who are going to be doing this, who are going to be on duty the following morning. We can't have it every way here. We either need the people to be working during the day, and so we have all of this. We have very little professionals allied to medicine.
And what about the weekend?
Physiotherapists, OTs, and so on. Well, the same goes for the weekend. It's downtime as well.
And in terms of often the problems, there's extra problems at the start of the week. Discharging at weekends, is that a particular problem?
Well, one of the things that's getting no discussion at all, Greg, is about the number of patients that are in hospital up and down the country that don't need to be there. I think Mary T. Sweeney covered it very well before 10 o'clock on your programme. I mean, delayed discharges have always been a problem. I have no intel or no internal information about the number of delayed discharges in the hospital, but I was going to say about we have to have a pre-hospital, a hospital, and a post-hospital service, because when I was working in the hospital, we might have, there might be occasions when we had between maybe 30 and 40 patients waiting for a bed in various areas and trolleys throughout the hospital. But there might have been 30 delayed discharges. And I bet you $1 that up and down the country there's a good part of about 700 or 800 or 900. And that's what that means now is that these are patients who have been medically discharged by the hospital consultants. They're not under any active treatment in the hospital anymore, but they can't go home because there is no home supports, or there is no convalescence, or no step down, or no respite, or whatever. And of course, the worrying thing about all of this is that Dermot Monaghan, the CHO1, was quoted, I think, on your programme and also on Donegal Daily platform at the last meeting of the Western Forum, that home support services were maxed out in both the funding that they had available at the time and also the problem about recruiting staff to carry out this. So this is getting no coverage or no traction at all about the number of people in hospital. But I mean, Greg, that's completely sinful to have people queued out the door. And remember, there's no elective surgery being done in hospitals either. And still have maybe 2 wards in every hospital up and down the country full of patients who don't need to be there.
And in terms of the throughput, access to GP, access to out-of-hours GP services, I mean, we have a static or falling number of GPs. There's difficulty in accessing them, but we have an explosion in the population. Like, we have an extra minimum of 5,000 or 6,000 people. I don't know what the exact figure off the top of my head is currently. Like, a lot of decisions are being made that are actually worsening the issue. And I'm not pulling this into whether we should pull about the drawbridge or anything. That's not my motivation here for this conversation. But we're adding to the problem, but we don't seem to be offering any solution. And then we have someone like Stephen Donnelly. Again, I'm not having a go at him. I don't know the person. His clip on the news is he's saying, yeah, we have a problem here and we need a solution. What's that solution? More beds. But from what you're saying, it's not really more beds. It's how we get.
More beds are good.
But how long before they're filled up?
Yes,
like the 27
if you go back, if you have Ken Mulpeter's clip from about 10 or 12 weeks ago, it would be well worth playing it again, because he made the point about, right, so you have all these beds and hospital consultants will fill them. Fair enough, because that's what the demand is there. But, I said on your program before that patients in hospitals are up and down the country fall into 3 categories. There are patients that are under active treatment. That's about a third of the patients. There are a third of the patients that are waiting for something. They're waiting for diagnostics. They're waiting for an OT or physio assessment. They're waiting for they may be in under a consultant surgeon, but they might be waiting for a medical consult. They're waiting for transport. They're waiting for something. Putting extra beds in the system is not going to do anything. All you're going to do, Greg, is just increase the wait. They've got to have additional professionals allied to medicine and diagnostic. That's a huge thing. I mean, in relation to, I said earlier on about the services in this country are set up in a way to meet the needs of patients in the 1970s, not in 2023. And I'm sorry to say that primary care falls into the same boat. I know Dr. Dennis McCauley said a few days ago that GPs were burnt out and under huge pressure, and I'm sure he's right, because he's speaking from the inside. But GPs can switch off at 1 o'clock and they can close down at 4 o'clock, and we have 85 GPs round or about working across the spectrum in Donegal from 9 to 1 and from 2 to 4:30. But that's probably not going to cut it anymore, Greg, because then we go down to 3 now centres with an individual doctor and a nurse or 2 in each of those areas. That's not going to wash anymore, because the population is increasing. The proportion of the population over 65 years of age is increasing. That's the likes of me and older than me, and I'm afraid that we demand more health service than you in your age cohort. Professor Donald O'Shea, the consultant lead on obesity, said that it is now abnormal to come across somebody with a normal BMI. Overweight and obesity is associated with more morbidity. There is much more expectation out there on behalf of the general public. But the health service is like a 40-foot Arctic truck. It's not twisting around to meet the needs.
Okay, so right. So, Paddy, you've worked with the HSE in management in a hospital, so you've seen it all. You've seen the inside workings of it, right? And you say, and I get it, and I don't doubt for a second that management's hands are tied to a great extent. We've got the likes of Ken Mulpeter speaking out from within, and I think because of his seniority and his position, he's able to do that. But I have contacts from nurses and others who can't speak publicly, right? We've got the INMO screaming from the rooftops what the problems are, yet there is no plan or no solution, and even the health minister's suggestion today doesn't seem really to tell the full story. So in your view, who do we call out here? Like the HSE, we just call it the HSE if it's one thing, but it's a whole myriad of people. Like, what has to happen? How can we get out of this? Because this is only going to get worse. I mean, we might get some respite when flu and RSV and stuff dies down, but we've seen the hospital as busy as it's ever been in the summer. During the summer, it was busy as some winters during the summer. So who needs to do what? You know, because no one's taking any responsibility here. Yet we're hearing from people like you, people who know what the problem is. The solutions are there.
Well, I've got bad news for you, Greg, then, because if the impression has been given that hospitals up and down the country are under a spike in pressure, which they are because of the viral infections doing the rounds at the moment. Remember, there is a whole raft of hospital activity that's been parked here at the moment. So when and if the viral infections ever subside and go away, elective surgery is going to come back with a bang, because I suspect there's no elective surgery being done in hospitals up and down the country.
Can you give us some examples of what elective surgery is? Because I think people might think that's an ingrown toenail or something, and I don't mean that in any way facetiously. So I want to emphasise, when we talk about all elective surgeries have been cancelled today, that hasn't happened here. It's in Limerick, for example. What does that mean, and what is not happening when that announcement is made, Paddy?
Well, that falls into, there's various categories of elective surgery, but up at the very top of that, since Letterkenny is licensed by the National Cancer Control Programme to do symptomatic breast surgery, God knows whether that's taking place at the moment. If there's 60 people waiting for a bed, where are they going to accommodate these people? The hospital is also licensed to do colorectal surgery. That would be people with bowel cancer that need surgery. Then there is less heat stuff that would say, for instance, people that need hip replacements, joint replacements generally due to they're in chronic pain or whatever. That all is to be set aside. Then you would have people with chronic cholecystitis that need their gallbladder removed. A whole range of stuff like that goes from serious down to non-serious, but it's been put off. But remember that all of this stuff has been put into a waiting list queue that is going to the never as well, and it can't really be to be set aside. It can't afford to be set aside. But all of that stuff is going to come back with the vengeance, Greg, when the viral infection sets down. So we have delays in treatment having an impact on people's health. We hear warnings from some that people are going to die as a result of this. Those that are presenting to the hospital and trying to get through the hospital for treatment. It's immeasurable then. The delays in diagnosis, say, for example, through lockdowns, and then knocking on to the delay in some of this very important elective surgery. This has to have an impact on an awful lot of people's outcomes, you know, and it's not to scare anyone, but we have to face the reality, if that is the reality, Paddy. Oh, but you see, Greg, there's a lot of research done and a lot of articles in medical journals in particular about patients that have delays in emergency department, and this research has been done in Ireland and England, and a lot of it's been done in the States and elsewhere, but particularly the British Isles, that patients that have an immeasurable delay in the emergency department, that it has a very negative effect on their health. You see, Sláinte care, Greg, was meant to be the solution to all of this, but it's been cannibalized and picked over and elbowed into the side roads, because all of the bits that people don't like has been picked out and sort of quietly discarded. And that program now is 7 years old, and I think it's 3 years left of delivery, and the probability is that it's going to run out of road and it'll be forgotten about. I think we're 23 years now into this century, and I think we've had 7 ministers of health, if my memory serves me right, already. So there's no consistency there either. And I would suspect that Stephen Donnelly is waiting for the day that he'll become Minister for Education or something, that he can get out of this very quickly.
Do you know what? I just think with things like this, and it's stupid for me even to suggest it, but a cross-party panel that appoints 3 people into position for 10 years, doesn't matter. I don't care if they're Sinn Féin, Fine Gael, Fianna Fáil, Ain't Do, Independent, doesn't matter. But a panel that it's depoliticised, that they go in there over a 10-year period, rotating whatever it needs to be to fix the health service, because this people coming in and out is getting us nowhere. And I don't know if it's a controversial question or not. We need reform and we need change. are there some people within the health service at certain grades that are resisting that change and frustrating progress?
Well, you see, it's very wrong for me to get the impression that I have all the answers here, because what should be done and what can be done are two different things. I mean, the NHS in Northern Ireland is a similar predicament, and the NHS from Scotland down to England is probably worse. Of course there are, because the health service in every country, in Ireland in particular, it's full of vested interests who want to do what their own piece of do. I mean, it's in the interest of hospital consultants to have additional beds because they can get more patients in, which is right. And if they can do more, it allows them to do private practice. It's not such a huge issue in Donegal because a very high percentage of the population have medical cards or whatever. But it is an issue. We'll say, for instance, as you move east in the country, there is a lot of issues as well with staff, for instance, because they like to work 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. They don't like to work on the weekends and nights and Saturdays and Sundays and so on and so forth. Everywhere across the board in the health service, there's vested interest. It's not fair for me now just to pick out hospital consultants and the 9 to 5 people. Everywhere you go, there's vested interest for one reason or another. I mean, look at the debate there was back in the autumn about the Stephen Donnelly's plans, which is a very good one, to set up 3 hubs in the country to do elective surgery only. And there was a whole brouhaha on your programme about the fact that there was no centre in Donegal. Big deal is the answer to that. Is it not better to get your hip replacement done on time, or to get your gallbladder removed, or whatever you need it done?
I think that was the takeaway from that. I think that was the takeaway from that conversation, if I remember it correctly. That look, if we're getting access to it, if we have to travel, so be it.
I mean, we've got to get away from that. We can't have a Beaumont hospital in every town in Ireland. It's just not going to work. But I have a funny feeling, Greg, that we're not prepared to pay for what we need to do, because Sláinte care is going to cost a lot of money. And I'll just give you a small taster of that, because I know you're under time pressure. You had a little taster of this yourself. Stephen Donnelly, the Minister of Health, was in town here was it the end of November or the beginning of December?
Yep.
And you interviewed him, yes?
Mm-hmm. Briefly, it was on an OB, so it wasn't ideal, but yeah.
Yeah, and he expressed with great aplomb about the additional 35 million that he gave to Letterkenny Hospital. It was never actually teased out what that money was actually going to be for. Now, I have no insight into what that money is for either, but I take it that was 35 million over and above what the hospital had got the previous year, yes? Well, I suspect, Greg, that money has been used to keep the hospital just standing still. Rather than going backwards. There's 2,000 staff in the hospital, and they range in salary from 30,000 up to about 200,000. And there's 2 elements of the national wage agreement going to be paid out this year, and that's going to take up a chunk of that. Any staff that have been appointed within the hospital within the previous 8 years have got incremental credits due to them. There's going to be a cost in that. The hospital is no different than any other house or institution that has got energy bill. It's got to pay for electricity. It's got to pay for oil. You can imagine what their bill has gone. Everything from the pharmacology bill, that's the medicines, the consumables, surgical stores, food, blood, all of that kind of stuff. Do you know how much of your 35 million is left when you take all into that account? But they will buy you a packet of cigarettes and a box of matches.
But Steve, the health minister presented that to us though as if that was the government taking the issues of Letterkenny University Hospital serious and pumping 35 million into it to improve the situation. That was the impression that was given.
It was.
This is why we need a cross-party panel or something then, because
if Greg, I am reading this right. If that's what the 35 million is given, what on top of the following year. And you also have to take into account, because the hospital has been in surge capacity for more or less constantly now. That means there are areas in day case, in surgical daycare, in medical daycare that need to be staffed out of hours at nights and weekends, that demand additional staff and that demand premium pay. You take all of those things into account. How much do you think of the 35 million is left? Little is the answer.
Fascinating insight as always, Paddy. That's why I invited you on. I really appreciate your time. It is actually appreciated. Thank you very much, Paddy.
Okay,
Take care of yourself. That's Paddy Rooney, former Assistant General Manager at Letterkenny University Hospital. Went a bit long on that, but as I say, it pulls the curtain back a little bit, and even just maybe exposing the €35 million announcement by Stephen Donnelly. I think worthwhile in doing so. I sound like I've got it in for Minister Donnelly. I don't. He's the head of the health service, and the health service is in an absolute crisis, and I find it frustrating that he recognises that, but is not taking any responsibility for providing solutions. And as I say, it doesn't matter to me what party he's in, or no party, or whatever. For me, with what people are going through, we know on this programme, I know personally exactly what people are going through. I've spoken to dozens of people over the last couple of weeks about their experiences, and I would like to see a health minister that would get up on the plinth, unscheduled. Let's have a news flash and say there's a serious problem in this country and this is what we are going to do to fix it in the short term. But that's not going to happen, you see.
Cutting through the spin. The 9 till noon show on Highland Radio.
When you need help with natural gas or LPG appliances or pipes, don't take any chances. Stay safe and always use a registered gas installer for installation, servicing, repair or removal. Otherwise you're putting yourself and others at risk and breaking the law. Find a registered gas installer at rgi.ie.
Us pigeons see everything when we're flapping around up here. Well, almost everything. See, burning certain fuels releases invisible toxic pollutants, which can trigger asthma and lead to serious illness. So, if you're going to light a fire in your home, make sure to use low-smoke fuel. Oh, and never wing it burning rubbish.
Choosing low-smoke fuel is better for all of us. Let's clear the air for everyone. And remember to clean chimneys and heating appliances at least once a year. Brought to you by the Government of Ireland.
A new year, a new floor. At Floorit, we offer quality solid, semi-solid and laminate click vinyl wood flooring together with a vast choice of parquet herringbone flooring, all fitted and tailored to your needs. Call in today and see for yourself the fantastic offers available this January. Call Floorit today on 087 161 7008 or visit floorit.ie.
Raymond Sweeney here from Ben Sweeney Euronics to let you know about the Blomberg Integrated Dishwasher, which can save you time and money. When you're pressed for time, you can choose a quick 30-minute or 58-minute wash cycle or an intelligent auto program for perfect wash results every time. The German-engineered inverter motor means it operates at low noise level, so it's whisper quiet. And there's a 7-year parts and labour warranty for peace of mind. Call in and see for yourself at Ben Sweeney Euronics, Port Road, Letterkenny, or in the shopping centre Dunlow.
If over the holidays you decide it's time to change your car, then why not treat yourself to a new Kia in 2023? Make an inquiry on our website and we'll be in touch to arrange your purchase when we return in the new year. We have cars ready to drive away in January, so visit imotors.ie. iMotors would like to wish everyone a happy new year.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com.
Okay, welcome back. Caller says the Minister for Health is correct. We do need more beds. A bed is basic, essential, that a person should expect when they go to hospital. At least then the patients are on the ward and being monitored instead of sitting on a trolley in A&E. More beds and more people on wards will fix the problem of overcrowding in the emergency department. At the moment, we have the ministers and heads of department contradicting one another and no plan. Right, okay. Children's hospitals are dealing with an astronomical number of self-harm presentations. Two leading psychiatrists have warned. We're joined on the programme by one of those, Dr. Mary Cannon, consultant psychiatrist and member of the College of Psychiatrists of Ireland. Dr. Cannon, thank you so much for joining us this morning. It's greatly appreciated.
Hello, Greg. Thank you for having me.
Can you give us an extent of the problem? Because words like astronomical aren't thrown around, you know, and I think they're chosen to try and get the message across to say you need to take note of what we're saying here. So can you give us an overview of what the situation as you see it?
Well, this has been going on for a number of years now, for almost nearly a decade, and I think it's time we started to take notice of what's happening in terms of children's mental health and mental health crises. So basically, what we've noticed from about 2006 up to 2016, there was a 500% 500% increase, more than 500% increase in the number of children attending mental health, attending children's hospitals, emergency departments with mental health issues. And that number is continuing to increase. And last year, 1,222 children were seen for mental health reasons in an emergency department of a children's hospital. Now, this was, these emergency departments were never designed for mental health care or for mental health assessments. They're not a suitable place for young people to be talking about their private concerns. So something needs to be done, I think, in terms of providing alternative means of young people accessing mental health care in a crisis.
Right, and maybe we'll come back to how we care for them, but what has led to this increase? We've never had more awareness, more conversation. Is it possible that some of it's triggering? Is that something that needs a completely different set of analysis here? Because and anyone listening who's a parent, you're trying to do your right thing. We're almost treating our children with kid gloves. Maybe that's the wrong thing to do. Maybe the constant exposure to the conversation about mental health in our schools is, when you're, as you get older and your brain's not fully formed and you're trying to work things out, is it possible that we're inadvertently planting seeds? And I don't mean that, I'm not meaning that in any way emotive, if you know what I mean, but we've never had more conversation and support for people who are maybe not very seriously ill, and yet the problem is getting worse. I have had this concern myself, because I've found myself having to have conversations that I don't think I would have had to have if this whole conversation wasn't happening elsewhere as well. Does that make sense? I hope I'm not being clumsy or offensive or anything in that.
I mean, it's definitely that's. I've heard that said before. I don't think talking about talking about mental health doesn't cause mental health problems. I think we need to get that clear. And for years, back in the past, we never used to talk about suicide or suicidal feelings because we thought that would, spark people to do it. But no, we know now for sure that asking the question doesn't cause people to commit suicide. But in terms of what's causing this, there's two issues. One is that there seems to be a genuine increase in mental health problems among young people. The other thing is that young people and their parents are now feeling the only place they can access crisis care is in the emergency department. So that's the other issue. So, the one issue is what's causing, as you say, the increase, but the other issue is how are we dealing with it. And I suppose the issue of the emergency department attendance is, and it's not just the children's hospital actually, what we're seeing an increase in attendances for 16, 17, 18-year-olds into the adult emergency departments too. So it's not just confined to the children's hospitals. There seems to be a lack of, I suppose the child and adolescent mental health services are under pressure. I think we all know that. They're understaffed. The staff are under an awful lot of pressure. They just can't get through their waiting lists the way and the waiting lists are growing all the time. So in order to access care urgently, people see no other option, or GPs may see no other option but to say go to the emergency department. So that needs to be looked at in terms of providing an alternative. To get back to your question about what's the reason for these increases, we don't really know yet, Greg. That's the problem, and we need to do more analysis on this. I suppose there seems to be a genuine increase. We did a study of transition year students in North Dublin, Cavan and Monaghan, and we surveyed about 4,000 young people in schools. This was October 21, so it's very, very recent data. The children answered a large survey anonymously, and we found that the rates of mental illness were much higher than we had ever seen before. So a previous survey before the pandemic, back in 2018, about 5% of young people would have fulfilled criteria for a mental disorder. And now we're seeing rates of up to 30%. So this is huge. And it seems, and more so in girls than boys. So what we have to say is what's been going on over the last few years that could have caused this increase, and it seems to be, again, particularly affecting girls. We can speculate about things like substance use, which is increasing in young people and becoming more normalized. I'm thinking about basic alcohol or cannabis use and other drugs. Or social media use is also a new phenomenon that has occurred over that period where we're seeing this large increase. Also academic stress. And then, of course, there's the pandemic effects on top of everything else. We haven't quite been able to unpick what the effects have been on young people.
There have been through the ages, there have been huge challenges. I mean, there's a generation that came through maybe when there was the Cold War, where they may have thought their death was imminent. World wars. There's been other huge events in history, but has it led to sort of this level of illness, mental illness in younger people? You know what I mean? Like I know, like, our young girls being routinely bullied on TikTok to the point where thousands of them are harming themselves, they're cutting themselves. You know what I mean? I'd just like if we could dig a bit, not us in this conversation now, but us as a society, dig a bit deeper into this. I've had younger people, not my own, but others, that feel they're not feeling good today, but they label it as anxiety, or they're not doing very well at they're struggling to do their homework, and they're labeling it as ADHD. They're using language I was never familiar with. Do you know what I mean? I'm not saying that's not the case either, but there's this familiarity with all of that, and I just, then you get a group of them talking together, and I wonder, they're saying, well, this is what I've got, what have you got, what are you feeling? And I just would be, and it is as a parent, but it doesn't really apply to me as much for a wee while yet. I just want to make sure we're doing everything we can not to amplify stuff, to tool them, to say, this is how you can feel and this is what it can be. All the options are, it's whatever you want. Do you know what I mean?
Well, in order to help young people, they have to tell us that they need help. So we need to get young people to talk about how they're feeling. Now, I suppose the problem is when you do that, when you raise awareness and when you destigmatize condition, then you also have to have the services to deal with that when people come out that other end. And I think we just aren't prepared for this. The services weren't set up this way. We have a range of services such as Jigsaw or Spun Out or the Crisis Text Line for dealing with, but they're mainly geared for, as you say, anxiety, milder depression, stress. But when you get into the more serious conditions, then you're talking about specialist care and the child and adolescent mental health teams, and that is seriously underfunded.
Yeah.
They're really just not getting enough of the budget. Our mental health only takes 6% of the budget. In fact, that's dropped during the pandemic to 5%. So it's a tiny proportion of the health budget goes to mental health. But when you think about the number of people coming to GPs with mental health conditions, when you think about the results from that survey I mentioned, we need a lot more money.
In this day and age, 5% is
it's not
derisory. It's unbelievable.
And WHO itself says 12% should be the minimum. And we have the lowest number of psychiatric beds, the third lowest number in Europe per head of population. So we're not prepared to deal with this increase, and there's no capacity in the system. And, we're losing staff. This is the other issue.
And young people, as you mentioned, ending up in adult facilities. I mean, that is just unacceptable also.
Well, there's two ways to view that, Greg. One is that there aren't enough adolescent inpatient beds in the country, and we've been losing them again during the pandemic because it's not possible to staff. So the young people who need care will need to be admitted somewhere. So I know, the adult services get a lot of criticism, but, at least they are in a place of safety at that point. So we need to increase the number of adolescent-specific units and beds as well.
Okay. And we need to stop talking, not you and I, but the powers that be, people with influence. We need to stop talking about this, and we need packages announced. We need, we need to say, right, this we're going to, and we've been speaking about physical health with the problems in the hospital, and I'm sorry if this is it feels very heavy for people listening. It's just an accident of scheduling. But the talk needs to be over now. We actually need to say we're not only going to increase it by 5 to 6%. We're actually going to double it and then add half on, and we're going to match what we need to do, what the WHO suggests we should do.
Yeah, and Greg, that's a really good point you make. I think what happens is when people get frustrated, when parents get frustrated, they say, "Oh, the waiting lists are too long. My child's waiting 6 months for an appointment." But and then the staff get blamed, the teams get blamed, and in fact, we should be looking out. Parents should be joining with the mental health professionals to say, this is not acceptable, we need more funding. So talk to the politicians about it, talk to the policymakers. It's the same things happening in emergency departments now. The frontline staff are often getting the brunt of the anger. It shouldn't be directed to them. It should be directed to, higher up too. So when politicians come around to your doorstep, this should be high on the agenda.
Yeah, for sure, because this is something that affects us all by either directly or one degree of separation, be it the physical or the mental health, both issues that have dominated this hour. Thank you so much for your... Yes, go ahead, Doctor.
No, I just saying, particularly for young people, mental health is the key issue because they're physically healthiest time of life. So this is what parents, when children are very young, they're worried about their children's physical health. But when they become teenagers or young adults, it's their mental health they worry about.
We need a dedicated minister for children, for example, as well. That's how I think, governments can exercise
I think we need a mental health lead, or particularly youth mental health lead, and I think there is movement on that in government at the moment. So there is, I think HSE and Department of Health are aware of these issues, but it's just quite slow.
Yeah,
the progress.
We're all aware. You see, that's the problem.
I know,
the health minister's aware. The HSE is aware. The people that are at the sharp edge of this is aware, but what we actually want is people that are in power that make decisions that change things.
Yeah, we need to flood money into mental health the way they did in physical health during the pandemic.
Yeah, it's a very good point to finish on. Thank you so much, Doctor. Take care of yourself.
Thank you, Greg.
Dr. Mary Cannon, consultant psychiatrist and member of the College of Psychiatrists of Ireland. And again, I'm sorry if the last hours felt incredibly heavy. It's actually maybe even longer than that because we're talking about some serious injuries, issues, and I feel it myself. I feel it overwhelming at times, all of this stuff. But it's right here and now, and we can't ignore it. I'm trying to see if we can come up with ways of talking about this that were solution-focused. And it's proactive and moving things forward. Right, let's take a break.
The county's #1 talk show, The 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio.
McElhenney's biggest ever winter sale is now on with unmissable offers on all your favourite designer brands. Enjoy major savings across fashion, footwear, homeware and more with up to 50% off today. Join us in-store or visit our website now for spectacular savings in the McElhenney's winter sale, our biggest sale of the season.
Our wide range of 2023 Skodas are going fast. This is the sound of the Breen family getting their powerful diesel Kodiaq. And this is fully charged Fiona, driving away in her electric Skoda Enyaq. And this is the sound of someone who didn't place their order in time. Order your 2023 Skoda today, before it's too late. Skoda. Made for Ireland.
Your local Skoda dealer is DMG Motors, Clare Road, Donegal Town. Telephone 074 9721 396 or visit dmgmotors.ie.
The Redcastle Oceanfront Golf and Spa Hotel in County Donegal invite you to their weekend wedding showcase on Saturday 7th and Sunday 8th of January from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. View the breathtaking ocean suite set up for a wedding. Meet the wedding team, enjoy refreshments and more. Avail of superb offers for weddings booked on the day. See redcastlehoteldonegal.com.
Things don't have to be this way. Introducing
Radio.
Take control. No more searching or complaining. Because listen, it's wherever you are. Experts have said to expect
60
stations across the country.
Yeah, and it's even got the, pod thingies.
Podcasts.
Oh, yes! It's got everything!
Discover a radio experience that speaks to you with the Radio Player app. Download today.
Highland Radio weather updates with Ireland West Airport. Salah, Nunes, the Beatles. You can now fly to Liverpool 8 times a week with Ryanair this summer. Ireland West Airport. Don't just take off, take it easy.
Radio, rather windy today with bright spells and scattered showers. Some heavy, temperatures 9 to 11 degrees and fresh to strong and gusty west to southwest winds. I'll give you tonight's weather forecast while I'm here. Mostly dry early tonight and chilly for a time. Lowest temperatures of 4 to 7 degrees. Turning milder towards morning as outbreaks of rain and drizzle spread from the south. Moderate south to southwest breezes will increase, fresh and gusty later. But keep an eye out. It might get a little bit more chilly later in the week up here in the west and northwest. There might even be a wee fall of snow here or there. We'll keep across that though and let you know as we get closer to the weekend. We're going to be talking fitness after the news at 11. So if you've any questions about your fitness, maybe you want to go to the next level, maybe you just want to get started. Any questions? 086 60 25,000. Get them into us. We'll get them answered for you. Give us a call 07491 25,000 and we'll go through the usuals about bits and pieces of advice. So it depends on what age you are or whatever. Maybe you're a person of a certain age or weight and you wonder what can you start doing now to sort of start making inroads, if that's what you want to do. Well, I don't want to... that's just a suggestion of some of the things you could be asking about. In 2013, my husband got a checkup for his knee and he needed a knee replacement, and there would be at least a 6-month wait, if not more. He went private and had surgery in 6 weeks. Why is this the case? Well, other consultants do private work too. It's a shame what's going on in this country. My son is not getting seen regularly for speech and physiotherapy. It's not good enough. And listen, there's a whole other area in there as well in terms of supports for children. Why are we spending vast amounts of money to bank staff? Can they not employ them? Another, how is Denmark's health service so good with a similar population to ours? We're both in the EU. We should look at their system. Yeah, indeed. Nurses are stressed in Letterkenny Hospital. I know, I'm a parent to one, and I know, and we're trying to support them in these conversations as well, and I hope that comes across, Mum or Dad, in our conversation. You're so right, Greg, we might as well have no health minister. I just don't want to be told what the problems are. I know what the problems are. We know what the problems are. We want solutions.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook, and at highlandradio.com.
Your next move matters, so why not move better? Start your move to permanent TSB today. Apply in-app for our award-winning current account. So don't just move bank. Move better. Apply in-app today.
Applications for Explore Current Account in-app for over 18 personal customers. Qualifying criteria, fees and charges, terms and conditions apply. Awarded bonkers.ie Best Current Account 2022. Permanent TSB PLC is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Don't sleep in and miss the very latest beds and mattress offers from dfibeds.ie, Ireland's leading online bed and mattress retailer. You'll get a comfy Irish-made mattress, upholstered base and headboard from an amazing €229. Check out the full range at dfibeds.ie. Delivery free and guaranteed to you within 7 working days. DFI Beds. Sleep well, live well.
A public interest message from Donegal County Council. Changes in the air when it comes to solid fuels. All coal products, wood products, biomass products and manufactured part biomass products are now subject to the new solid fuel regulations. All solid fuel must now comply with the new standards. This will also mean that smoky bituminous coal will no longer be available from local retailers. These new regulations were introduced on November 1st to protect our health and our environment. Recent EPA reports have estimated that around 1,300 people in Ireland die prematurely each year because of poor air quality. For more information, including frequently asked questions for the householder and retailers, please go to gov.ie/clean air or donegalcoco.ie. Donegal County Council, protecting your environment.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook, and at highlandradio.com.
All right, good morning again. It's 11 o'clock. Let's get a news update. We say good morning now to Donald Kavanagh.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. The Health Minister meeting with other senior ministers this morning to brief them on the overcrowding crisis facing Irish hospitals. A short time ago, the INMO published this morning's Trolley Watch figures. Letterkenny University Hospital, 46 people awaiting beds there this morning, 20 of them on trolleys in the emergency department. That's down 4 on yesterday. Sligo University Hospital, 65 people awaiting beds there this morning, 42 in the emergency department. That's a combined northwest total between Sligo and Letterkenny of 111 patients without beds this morning. The Industrial Relations Officer with the INMO in the Northwest told Greg this morning on today's 9 to noon show that members at Letterkenny University Hospital are distraught and burnt out. Meanwhile, the emergency medicine Dr. Lisa Cunningham said today there are fewer beds in Irish hospitals now than there were in 1981. Lisa Cunningham says the system is at breaking point and increased bed capacity is the only way to address the crisis. Meanwhile, a former assistant general manager at Letterkenny University Hospital has questioned how much of the extra €35 million announced for the hospital at the end of last year will go toward actually improving services and addressing the current crisis. Paddy Rooney says Minister Donnelly didn't specify how the money would be spent. He said he believes the money will be almost entirely taken up with funding pay increases and meeting the extra costs in energy, electricity and other utilities. Other news, and house prices rose by just over 9% last year in Donegal, according to daft.ie. Economist Ronan Lyons, who wrote the report, says people moving out of the cities during the COVID era created a lot of demand in the regions and in particular in Connacht Ulster. However, he says that's now eased significantly. Donegal's rise last year was still 3% above the national average. All aspects of emergency planning in oil could be put on a statutory footing as part of a government plan to strengthen the state's capacity to respond to a potential oil emergency. That issue being discussed today. And Donegal County Council is being urged to construct a pedestrian crossing at MacArthur's Road in Buncrana between the Aldi and Lidl stores, which are opposite each other. Councillor Jack Murray says there is no safe point for crossing the road. A lot of pedestrians use it. He says it's a safety hazard that needs to be addressed. Back with headlines again at 12 noon.
Donald, thank you very much.
It's easier to get healthier this January with the right support. The Irish Life GAA Healthy Clubs Challenge is helping communities get active. Every step you take could help your GAA club win O'Neill's Sports Vouchers. There's €20,000 worth of vouchers up for grabs. Just download My Life, the free health and wellbeing app. Register, join the challenge and start tracking your steps. A better life with Irish Life. The My Life app is provided by Irish Life Financial Services. T's and C's apply. See irishlife.ie/mylife.
All right, Wellness Wednesday now. We're going to talk about fitness. Aoife Hunter, owner of Aoife McGill Personal Training, is in studio with us now. Hi, Aoife.
Hiya, Greg.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
New Year, new me. Right, so if your New Year's resolution includes wanting to get healthier, decrease body fat, improve fitness and increase confidence while getting sustainable results by learning methods of how to maintain them, we've got advice for you.
We do.
We were hearing just earlier on talking about, the general population health, and BMI was mentioned. Right. And BMI is not always necessarily directly linked to how someone might appear.
No. Your BMI is your body mass index, and it's not really always a true reflection of somebody. A sort of, in basic simple terms, I sort of take that right back, say, to the weighing scale. If somebody's exercising or training, if they're, say, strength training, it's not really a true reflection of your results and progress as such. Now, if you are somebody who's, say, excessively overweight, then BMI is for sure a factor, and it's something your GP and that will talk about. But as far as body fat loss goes and things, we really would go more leaning towards like, say, progress photographs and things, your clothes, so that you're not stepping on the weighing scale and getting deflated if that's not the result that you're expecting to see after working really hard for 3 months. Say.
Yeah, so in other words, how much weight you might lose might not necessarily be the true reflection of your progress.
Exactly. Yeah. That's fair.
And we can be slave to the scales, can't we?
Like we call it the sad step. I say stay off it. It's a tool, surely, and you can use it.
And yet we keep putting batteries in them.
But definitely for tracking progress, I would definitely aim more towards the likes. Take your photographs, go with your clothes size. Don't go dress size up, aim to get a dress size down. Use it as one of your sort of like attainable, achievable goals for the new year.
And it's how you feel as well, presumably, about your energy levels, how you might be sleeping.
Exactly.
That kind of stuff. These are the key indicators, really.
That's it. Because there's so much more to it. Like, that's what I really stress towards in the new year, as surely like weight loss, particularly around January, is on people's minds. But definitely health, I would say to aim to take better care of yourself and to get healthier, and then everything else will follow suit.
I don't engage with them, but I don't like programs that get people to step up on scales.
Nah.
It's horrendous, really, in this day and age.
I think there's so many different ways and methods of monitoring your progress. I'm feeling good.
I don't think it's really responsible broadcasting. No. I'm not going to get you to comment on it because
you get me in trouble.
Yeah, but I don't care. I get in trouble all the time. But it's just I really actually think it's irresponsible. Especially with younger people watching, because it's planting the seed again of your weight being determined by numbers.
This is the numbers in the scale.
What's my ideal weight? I haven't a clue.
But it's remarkable, because I'll tell you, maybe now I'm hanging myself out to dry here, but on a personal level, like, I'm as heavy now on the weighing scale as I was as a full-term pregnancy and my last baby.
Caroline, bring the scales in. She's getting up on the scales. Camera 2.
Like, so it just shows you how falls the weighing scale can
really
be.
quite
Like, a back
interesting,
exercise,
isn't it?
back training. Just as heavy.
But you're still getting up on the scale.
But I'm getting. I use it as a
doing?
tool. Use it as a tool.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, and to prove points and yeah, I get you. No,
Yeah.
and I agree with you. I'm being a bit facetious, but I agree.
Yeah.
Anytime's a good time to start, I suppose, trying to get better. When people start things in the new year, I'm not trying to put any business. I'm not trying to deter any businesses, but I think like people might get the gym membership and not use it. Now, I don't think that's good for gyms if they don't. If they get a month or 3 months and don't come back, you want people to sort of have a mindset, so that they're in there all year round. So I'm not doing a gym a disservice here, but what way do we need to? What space do we need to get into our heads if we want to choose now as the time to make a difference?
Do you know what? Even outside of the gym, say if you're somebody who's at home and you're just planning to eat that wee bit better and you want to move a bit more, I would still everybody across the board, I would say to set yourself realistic, attainable and then sustainable goals. Like, don't go crazy and pulling out food groups that you love, going on really strict programs for a short space of time. You might lose weight in that space of time and then you put it on afterwards. You want, like, do it a good goal from this current date now. For a 12-week is a good aim, and that'll take you nearly through to St. Patrick's weekend, and 3 weeks after that takes you to Easter. So they're good goals to aim for, and you can get results in that period of time, sensible results that you're not being too strict on yourself.
So set your reasonable. So if you are completely inactive, maybe if you're able to walking a kilometre is a target.
Walking's fantastic, and walking's a good cardiovascular exercise. Like, people nearly give it a bad rap, but not at all. Like, people forget. They hone in so much about weight loss, they forget about being healthy. Now with us, we push the health aspect first, and everything else follows through. Donegal's like fantastic for facilities as well, for beginners, for all everybody who wants to begin to exercise, or even right through to your athlete. But there's so many beginner programs, be it a gym, be it a leisure centre. There's walking programs. There's Couch to 5Ks. There's so many things in the community.
And I don't want to be hopping all over the place, but we will get down to some specifics. But even an older person, say for instance, or not even an older person necessarily, even the most basic of exercises is important in terms of retaining balance and what have you. To avoiding falls and stuff.
Create bone density. There's so many added benefits to exercise itself.
Right. Okay. I'm 55 and I need to lose a bit of weight. I have severe osteoarthritis. What can you recommend? Can't walk in too much pain.
Can't walk in pain. I wonder. That's severe. If you can't walk, like, there's
pool work with that
pool.
help?
Yeah, you could physically walking in the pool because the water would help the density, but also the types of exercise like Pilates and things are really good, sort of stationary on a mat, movement and flexibility. But somebody like that might probably need a bit of help too from their GP, just with maybe joint aid medications and things.
Yeah, you need to be planning what you can do there, I think, with your GP, don't you? Because you don't want to exacerbate anything.
A walk would be like a low intensity exercise. If you can't walk, it's quite severe.
Yeah, I get you. This is also a different type of question. It's actually someone on the phone. Do you have headphones there? Where are they?
Yeah, we'll pop these up.
Yeah, good stuff. Thank you very much. Sorry about this. We're normally better organised. Tanya, good morning to you.
Good morning, Greg and Aoife.
Hiya.
Now, your question for Aoife, Tanya. Hello. Right, we've lost that line. We'll get that back maybe. We'll come back to that in a second. I have issues with putting weight on and off. I'm never able to stabilise it, and I can't keep it regular. I do try to watch what I eat and walk every day. So that's the yo-yo sort of effect, I think.
And that's sort of that's like a typical example of people sort of we work with a lot, because we really pare things back. And sometimes, and I'm not saying this person is like that, but sometimes they go really drastic for a short period of time and they can't sustain it. So it's going back to the real consistency tip that I have with people, and creating a calorie deficit that you can maintain. And calorie deficits can sound quite scary, but that's really simple. Like, it doesn't have to be hard work. Calorie deficit basically is consuming less calories than what you currently are for your maintenance weight. So say if you're currently 11 stone, then you're consuming so many calories to maintain that 11 stone. So this is a kind of a general tip, and if you wanted if that person wanted more sort of in-depth information, they could contact us. But a real sort of general rule of thumb, this will depend too on their physical activity. I think he just said he was just walking. Was he just walking? But
that person was. I don't. No, they didn't say anyway.
Well, say with just general physical activity, then if you take your current weight as you sit today in pounds, multiply that by 15, and then subtract 500 off that figure. That'll give you a deficit for a daily calorie deficit from where you're sitting today. And that's not a huge deficit, but it's enough, say, over your 12 weeks plus to give you sustainable results that you can maintain, that you're not falling on and off the wagon, putting on weight, losing weight.
So if you're maintaining a certain level of fitness, whatever that might be, the thing that will really vary your weight will be your calorie intake.
Yes,
that's
you cannot
simple, really.
Yes, it is. Like, it's not hard work. You can't out-train a bad diet. There's sometimes people will exercise and they can, into the frame of mind, you can eat what you want, but you do have to be mindful of that as well. And I find that really helps with everybody, no matter what stage they're at.
Because I think you recognised a problem for a lot of us is that you see when it starts getting into calorie counting and good foods, bad foods, good sugars, bad sugars, carbs, whether or not you should drink orange juice or whether or not you should blend, or do you know what I mean? Like, it starts going, and for people like me who is inherently lazy, this just becomes the barrier that I need to avoid doing anything.
That's it. Trying to break the habits and create, and just keep it simple, just to avoid putting you off anything. I would cut nothing out. Just reduce. Keep your balanced plate, because remember, back to the thing, you want to be healthy as well as aid in your weight loss.
You know what I did actually, and I think it did make a difference. I got smaller plates.
Big time. I swear by the smaller plates.
Because all of a sudden it looks like, oh my, look at the amount of food in that plate.
Yeah, that's true.
It's just a little psychological thing.
Yeah, surely is.
Let's try Tanya again.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you. No, it's not. You're doing grand. It's just the phone line let us down. Tanya, good morning to you.
Hi, good morning, Greg and Aoife.
Your question, Tanya.
Well, over the last year, I've lost 14 stone, and now I have the issue of kind of loose skin. And I was wondering if there's any kind of exercises that I should be doing. I'm out obviously doing more now. I do a lot of walking, but I wonder if there's anything I can do to help with the skin situation.
Congratulations, first of all, on your weight loss. Yeah, but 14 stone in 1 year is a drastic weight loss. So fair play to you. But I don't want to be sort of doom and gloom on it, but there is exercises you can do to target muscle. But I'm assuming that in that time frame to lose such a drastic amount of weight, would you have a lot of excess skin?
Well, not loads. It's just kind of looser than it was, obviously because there was more fat around.
Yeah. Well, do you know what? You can target, say, for like core exercises and things. Up in your strength training is fantastic as well. You're walking, which is great. That's a cardiovascular exercise, and it'll help you burn excess calories and make you feel good and everything else. But I would focus maybe on creating more lean muscle. So you can do that by strength training would be probably the one I would head to the most. Core exercise can help you tone up, but you really want to increase lean muscle to help you there.
And in that case, does the lean muscle, Aoife, lift the skin, or does that skin? It hardly turns into lean muscle, obviously not, because the muscles are separate.
Tighten up. Yeah, see if you create lean muscle, that just helps you burn it. Well, right down to tightening the skin. I would really like to sort of meet that person.
Yeah, Tanya, it's one of those because it's a huge amount of weight to lose, and as Aoife says, congratulations. It sounds like you need to have a consultation and see what can be targeted there. Yeah, I get you.
Yeah, that'd be a good idea.
How do you feel now, Tanya?
Oh, amazing. I'm
really?
A different person.
Okay, that's brilliant.
God, I mean, I'm only 5'2" and I was 27 stone, so you can imagine, and it's just, I always used to be the clown and be laughing at myself before anyone would laugh at me, but now it's like true happiness. It's hard to explain.
No, you don't actually. You did actually, Tanya. Listen, thanks so much for that, and we'll see if we can set up a chat between you and Aoife. You can lose the headphones now if that's okay.
Happy New Year.
Aoife, so right, let's cut back to the basics then. We're say, for instance, we are working and walking around the place and what have you, but we're not doing any exercise as such, right? Maybe we're going up the stairs and you're starting to feel now at the top of the stairs, well, I've had to take a breath there.
Yeah.
And obviously you're ruling out anything, and any medical conditions. So it's just about your health, maybe getting a little bit older, whatever it might be. I'm not talking about myself. So how do we begin?
Walking. I would start with a walk. If you're somebody who's completely sedentary, hasn't moved or exercised in years, I would start with a walk. And I wouldn't aim or anything, even if it's a beginner exercise program in a gym, which there's loads of, you could go that route as well. But I wouldn't aim for mindset, like don't aim to do something 5 days a week. Like 2 to 3 is plenty to get you going. You need the days after for recovery and you'll be fresh to go again, and find something you enjoy. You know, you want to be going up to the top of the stairs not feeling out of breath or out of puff, you know, because all that comes back to your health as well, you know. So just to be fit and healthy, start simple and set yourself goals that you can maintain.
And at this point, should we also be saying, right, well, maybe now's a good time to look at the diet? And without getting, at this point, we're only starting, right? So we don't want to get too deep into it. What do we need to be trying to cut back on or avoid even?
I would simply just cut back on the sweet treats. Don't cut anything out, because it's back to that thing that it's hard to maintain and keep up. I would keep a balanced plate at meal times. And also, do you know, another good tip is to try and incorporate some protein into every meal. Now, that doesn't mean that you have a steak for breakfast, but you can increase your protein through simple things like Greek yogurt or maybe nut butters and crackers.
And what
things
does
like
that do for us?
Because pair that with exercise, that helps you create lean muscle.
Okay.
And lean muscle helps you burn more calories. So it really helps aid weight loss.
Right, so what proteins then for the morning walk would we try and get into us?
Yeah, well, I wouldn't necessarily replace your carbohydrate breakfast with it, but you could, if you were going to replace your porridge for a day with protein, you could have simple things like eggs, scrambled eggs and turkey bacon. You know, it's not really hard work, but it does take planning. And that's another tip I have for everybody is plan your food shop, plan your meals, plan your exercising for the week and tick off the boxes as you go.
But presumably as an early adopter that might seem like, oh my word, but presumably it gets easier the more you do it. It becomes part of you. It's a lifestyle change, isn't it? Yeah.
Big lifestyle change. It really is. And I would start really... Say if you have so many goals, say for the year, for argument's sake, don't aim to tackle them all at one time. Take one box at a time. You know,
sure.
Even if it's a breakfast, just start between now and the next 6 weeks of having a breakfast. If you're somebody that misses one, try to get it in.
I don't eat breakfast.
10 o'clock tea, get your breakfast.
I sometimes don't eat till 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. You know, it's terrible. A family member, but I find if I have breakfast, right, I start getting very hungry then about 11 o'clock.
Yeah, but you should be.
Yeah, okay. But I can't. What am I supposed to do? Bring a bowl of cornflakes on air. Donald, can you do an extra few headlines? I'm finishing my cornflakes. But that's an excuse I'm coming up with, isn't it?
I didn't want to insult you, but change your mindset.
Yeah, it is. It's just I'm making excuses.
And habit, yeah. Okay. And they say 21 days for a habit to become... what's the word I'm looking for?
Your lifestyle. Just your everyday.
Give it time.
A family member is going to the gym daily along with going for a run. I'm worried about them injuring themselves. Can you train too much, really? I think is the basic question.
You can, and you can't overtrain, you know, and that's a lot of training. So you'd be hoping that person then would also be upping their calories to sustain their training and keep them healthy and well. You know, you can burn out. You could get injured. That's a lot of training, you know, as well as a run. You know, it's a lot on the body.
You could hit a wall at some point. Like, it's great while things are going okay, but presumably, you know, even athletes, professional athletes,
you need your downtime, you need your recovery time, Okay.
I have a dropped womb.
Okay.
What exercise should I avoid to stop further damage?
I would avoid high impact exercises for sure. I'm assuming that person hopefully is seeing a GP or a physiotherapist that can help along with
Is that pelvic floor exercises and that core training? Is it that area?
Yeah, it would help, but it depends how severe that you know, sometimes you need more specific help.
So what exercises should I avoid then actually to not look, sorry, I beg your pardon, I've misread that question.
Yeah.
So high impact stuff.
Avoid high impact, yeah, and really sort of again, it depends how severe the drop is, but also, you know, sometimes core exercises could actually exacerbate that because you've got extra pressure on your midsection and down that area. So I would avoid all high impact, maybe avoid some core exercises until you get a wee check with a physiotherapist or her GP.
Okay, very good. That's the type of thing you need to do in consultation.
Yeah, because that's a quite severe condition.
My stomach appears to be as hard as a rock. What exercises can I do to reduce it? Now, I'm not sure if it's sort of outwardly hard as a rock or...
Yeah, not sure actually about that. Hard, as in bloated, I wonder, or...
Could be, yeah. Beer bellies can be quite hard.
Yeah.
I don't
want to insult that.
No, I'm not. I'm just like you know. Yeah. So they.
Yeah. I wonder. So
text us more information and we'll come back to it.
Yeah.
Any tips for how to offload Christmas treats that are left over in the house? Trying to be good, but the quality streets are tempting me.
I would get them out of the house one way or the other. Get them out because you pick.
It's only the crap ones left at this stage anyway. You know, let's be honest.
The food banks and things like that, is a good one to go with for the leftovers, the treats.
Is there any connection between exercise and fertility for women? A caller says, I'm trying to have a baby and my sister have told me that I shouldn't be working out as hard. Is this a myth or are there any recommended exercise I should be doing? I don't know what the connection between exercise and fertility.
Yeah. I was actually going to, before, sorry that you got to the last sentence there, I was actually going to recommend that she does participate in exercise just to get her body prepared. If she's going to go through fertility treatment, you want to be as healthy as well as you can possibly.
Well, presumably too, in terms of your cycles and being able to predict all of that as well, the healthier you are.
As long as you're not overtraining, because again, back to that last person you were talking about, overtraining can affect things like that as well, with your menstrual cycle and that. So overtraining I wouldn't recommend, but I would recommend exercising.
Are protein shakes a good way to maximise gym results?
No, it depends what you're if you're somebody who really focused on strength training, like a lot of strength training and upping your load, then protein can definitely help you recover after better. But if you're somebody who's general exercise, and you don't need the protein shakes, you can get plenty of protein from your meals. I wouldn't replace a meal with a protein shake if you're a general gym goer.
I think the natural product's always going to be better, isn't it, than what can be created? Not always, but certainly in this instance. What about clothing? How important is good clothing? You're talking about walking, good shoes. You don't want to end up after 2 days with a collapsed arch or something.
Comfortable clothing's one thing, but I'm a big one for the proper training shoes. I think I touched on this with things before, but a few of our local sport shops and things, they do like a foot analysis.
Yes, your gait and all that
the gait,
stuff.
exactly, because you might admire my runners, I'll admire yours, and we'll go and get them, but they're completely the wrong structure for you. And if you have if you're somebody who needs a neutral support,
yes,
and you wear a supported trainer, then I can leave you with sore knees, sore backs, and you can do it.
Because I wear my shoes a wee bit on the inside, so I would probably need that.
You probably need a bit of support. They call overpronate. You probably overpronate, so you need a more structured shoe. But like that, if somebody did need the structure and they wore that trainer, then chances are they'd be left with the ailments, and plenty of cushion. If you're somebody who's road walking or running, then definitely loads of cushion.
Because it's your foot is touching the ground, but it's your ankles, your knees, your hips, your back.
That's actually right through.
Okay. Right. There was another question. Why do men don't wear leggings? Why?
Do they not?
Do they?
Well,
I never seen them
athletes, suppose runners I'd be familiar with, they would wear their leggings.
They?
Yeah,
right, okay.
yeah, they do.
I just had that conversation recently. Women wear leggings. They look so comfortable.
Daily,
you can throw them on and do whatever you like.
I would be more thinking there on training, but I suppose daily you don't see men in leggings, to be fair. No, don't know why.
They're comfy.
You can start the trend.
I don't think with my sparrow legs that would be a very good idea. Right, okay. So it's just trying to get your head in the right space, isn't it?
Yeah.
To sort of prepare yourself, not overdo things.
Yeah.
Take off bite sizes. Speak to a professional like yourself too, I think, because someone like you can set a pathway, because it's the woods from the trees that a lot of people, I think, struggle from. Like, where do I start? Where do I go?
Yeah.
But there's people like you and the county's blessed with lots of people who are experts in this regard that will get you a pathway. You don't necessarily have to engage with you for the rest of your life, but you can get people on the right path.
Yeah, to get going. Yeah, and for sure. Like, there's so many different ways and methods, and one tip I always say to people as well is that they just remember there's 7 days in the week, and if you get to a Thursday and you haven't moved a muscle, then you still have your Friday, Saturday or Sunday. You could get at least 2 things in it. That could be 2 walks, you know. It's mindset's a big thing. Don't hone in on the Monday. If I don't do something on Monday, that's it to the next Monday. You know, it's just being organized.
Because outside of this, and a lot of this might be how you feel and how you might appear, whatever it is, there is actually very clear guidelines on the level of activity and exercise that really, if you want to maintain your health, and it impacts all manner of things, your heart, your lungs, everything, there's a certain amount that we need to be doing. Really. You know, this is not an old wives' tale. We should really be doing that. Now,
and even down to, so you mentioned earlier, just before we came on, even around mental health, like it's fantastic. I always say sometimes if you could bottle the benefits of exercise, you'd have a miracle cure for some things. You know,
do you know, a lot of people go, but it's the amount of people I've spoken to that have felt so much better after it.
I've yet to meet somebody who did not feel better after doing a bit of exercise.
Yeah, exactly.
It might
at least you
be
can
hard
sit down
work
and not feel guilty, if even, and that's just at the most basic level.
Yeah, that's it.
Now, you seem to have written 5 pages of stuff.
Do you know what? I took my notes with me because I don't know. I was telling your Caroline before I came on. I don't know if I'm suffering from baby brain or like pre-perimenopause, but I was brain fog. I'm just afraid of my own name this morning. But you know what? Everything I have here.
Is there anything else that the pro that you think we should just have a wee focus on?
No, I think, you know, I've kind of covered everything that I wanted to mention, sort of about the calorie deficit and we've covered sort of, and maybe I'll run through them like as a top tips, sort of as set of bullet points I had for you. But the first one was sort of to be realistic and to set attainable and sustainable goals. We kind of touched on that, to plan ahead. So do your shopping, plan your meals and all that. Create a calorie deficit, drink more water. We touched that. Track your progress. That's again down
with
to
the photos.
Take the photos.
How you feel in your clothes.
Yeah.
Try that shirt on that was a little bit tight. See, does it feel a bit more comfortable?
Yeah,
Is
definitely.
it also a sit-down shirt, not just a stand-up shirt?
And I would give yourself that 12-week window for a progress picture. Say, for argument's sake, I would do it at 4 weeks, 8 weeks, and 12 weeks. In 12 weeks, you should really be seeing the change. You know, rather than getting on the weighing scale and being deflated with all that.
Do 3 walks and then get on the scale and you put on half a pound, and it could be depending on what time of the day you weigh yourself at, for crying out loud. All right, brilliant. And go on.
I think that's it. No,
2 more.
Don't beat yourself up if you fall off the wagon. Consistency. I'm always harping on about consistency, and that's near enough it.
And in terms, finally, in terms of trends, you know, there seems sometimes to be an explosion of people exercising and getting fit. Are we maintaining that, or is there a lot of people out there still sticking to it?
No, do you know what? I think in recent years, actually, things have changed. It is a lifestyle for a lot of people. Like years ago, no, not stereotypical on men or anything, but
stop being so afraid to offend people.
They might have met around, say, a bar and a pub. Now they meet in the steam room in the leisure centres or the gyms. You know,
no, that's a really good observation. Actually, you know, we're drinking less now. We are drinking less as a nation. There's no doubt about that. All right, Aoife, listen, it's always a pleasure to have you in.
Thanks very much for having me again.
If people want to chat to you, they can go to Aoife McGill Personal Training. Check you out on social medias, I presume.
Yeah, social medias and phone as well.
Excellent. You can give people a roadmap or what have you.
Yeah, we have a few exciting things happening now for this year coming in. So,
I mean, personal training, I mean, obviously it depends on people's income, and I'm not saying it's very expensive or whatever, but the personal training element of it really can help people, because you really keep on people's backs.
You know, with our facilities, for example, like we have, and like others throughout the county, like we have a sort of personal training element to our facility, but then we also have like a generic timetable of classes we run, and then specific different like New Year's things and that coming on.
Great. And things are going well for you?
Thank God. 2022 is shoulder to the wheel, but we're looking forward to this year.
No bother to you. Listen, thank you so very much, Aoife. I really appreciate it. That's Aoife Hunter, owner of Aoife McGill Personal Training, and Happy New Year to you too, Aoife. Take care.
Text or WhatsApp your view to Greg on 086 60 25,000.
It's the Right Price Tiles and Wood Flooring half price sale. Get up to 50% off all tiles. Wood flooring, bathware, cladding, everything's reduced. Tiles from only $8.99 per square yard, and wood flooring from only $11.99 per square yard. Right Price Tiles and Wood Flooring half price January sale is now on.
At Cherrymore Kitchens and Bedrooms, we are now operating out of one new state-of-the-art showroom in Donegal Town, and we invite you to visit our new 5,000 square foot Donegal Town showroom showroom to discover the latest eye-catching designs. Remember, at Cherrymore, you're dealing directly with the manufacturer, which means high-quality kitchens at factory prices. Start planning your dream kitchen or bedroom by calling Cherrymore on 074 9725 822. Cherrymore, 25 years delivering value, quality and service all over Ireland.
Visit Sensory Complex for a perfect family day out. Kids will love exploring sensory play. We have lots of tasty options available at Backstage Bar and Grill. And at Sensory Cinemas, we're showing kids' movies, comedies, action and adventures, dramas and more. Get in touch on 074 9121976 or visit sensorycinemas.ie for more information.
The huge January sale is now on at Watson Menswear in Letterkenny. Get 2 pair of jeans for €70. A selection of shirts, knitwear, jackets and suits at half price. Great discounts on top labels like Superdry, Penguin, Mishmash, Remus, Umo and more. Don't miss out on big savings in the January sale now on at Watson Menswear, Main Street, Letterkenny, and online at watsonmenswear.com.
There's never been a better time to go full Lidl. Let's hear it from our customers.
I'd say you don't know what you're missing until you do it, and you really will see the choice, the selection, the value for money. You know, you don't know until you try, so priority, get down to Lidl and get your shop done.
Go on, go full Lidl today.
There's no better time to switch to 48. Get all data, calls and texts for $12.99 a month. And there's no contract, so you're not tied down. Plus, we're powered by 3. Switch and save at 48.ie. Monthly membership, fair usage policy of 200 gigabytes, 5,000 calls and texts, and terms and conditions apply. One-time activation fee of $12.99. See 48.ie.
A public interest message from Donegal County Council. January is the last chance for visitors to the Donegal County Museum to see the exhibition A Common Humanity Full Circle. This powerful photographic exhibition, in partnership with Donegal County Archives, showcases the work of Anne Doherty, a documentary photographer who worked across the globe between 1994 and 2005. This curated selection of her photographs features ordinary people living in extraordinary situations across the world, from Ireland to Sierra Leone, from Italy to Armenia, and from Ukraine to Egypt. Admission to the museum is free. For further information, call 074 9124 613. Email museum@donegalcoco.ie or find them on Facebook. Donegal County Council, supporting our communities and protecting our heritage.
Mr. Blue Sky, please tell us why. The Lotto jackpot is an estimated €11 million. Play responsibly in store, in app, or at lottery.ie. The National Lottery. It could be you.
There's guaranteed prize money of €1,500 in the big poker tournament in Glenswilly Clubhouse this Sunday, the 8th of January. Registration is from 5 and it starts at 5:30 in aid of Glenswilly GAA Club. This ad is kindly sponsored by Boyle Construction.
Okay, First Dates Ireland returns to your screens on Thursday on RTE2 at 9:30 on the 5th. When does it return? Is it Thursday? Anyway, I'll let you know when it is on. There's a Donegal interest in the first episode. It is Saoirse Little from Donegal Town taking part in First Dates in RTE2 this Thursday night at 9:30. Saoirse, good morning to you. Thank you for joining us.
Greg, how are you?
I'm
hoping
good.
You can hear me all right.
I can hear you fine. I can. Come here. Why did you decide to enroll in First Dates Ireland?
It came up on my Facebook newsfeed, and I kind of took a mad notion and thought, geez, wouldn't that just be a bit of crack and a really different way to meet somebody new? You know yourself, Donegal's it's a big county, but a really small community, so everybody knows everybody. So it was kind of a chance just to meet somebody different.
And First Dates is it's not unique, but it's very good in matching people. So your interest is in cars and what have you, and presumably they've lined you up with someone who has similar interests. So in other words, you've got something to chat about as soon as you get sitting down.
I'll not give too much away, but the conversation definitely did flow. He was a very nice lad.
Did you feel you were on a date or on a TV show or a mixture of both?
It's very subtle the way they do things. When you're actually on the date, you wouldn't really notice kind of the cameras and stuff too much. Beforehand, yeah, it's very directed. You know, walk here, walk there, and you might have to walk in a door a couple of times. But when you're actually on the date, it is very natural, and they do try to make you feel as much at ease as possible. You know, there isn't a camera sitting beside your face watching you the whole time. You know, like they're not noticeable. So you are just kind of sitting there having a conversation with somebody.
Do you not be afraid of saying the wrong thing?
Absolutely. The
Can you cut that out, please?
Look at my phone.
Huh?
The instinct to not look at my phone was just terrible. I was just, don't look at it, just keep it down on the table.
Yeah, and do you...
in case my mother texts me or something.
Yeah, and I don't want to... I mean, like, obviously, you know, there's a format with these shows, and some people, they might try and get someone to cry a little bit talking about Like, I never understand. Everyone sits down, and the first thing they seem to start talking about is previous relationships. I'm not sure that's a fantastic way to start a date. Maybe that's normal. I don't know. I haven't dated in a while as such. But, like... Is there any structure to that, or is it all very natural and what you two guys want to talk about and stuff?
Your kind of your pre-interview, kind of the get to know you part before your date, is quite structured, and you know you kind of base it off that, because you know you'll have like mutual questions that they've asked, so they're kind of fresh in your head, where they were very fresh in my head anyways, because my processing first dates was only over a span of 2 weeks.
Wow.
In January, so mine was very short compared to a lot of people. I must have been the very last person to apply.
Yeah.
So they were very fresh in my head, so kind of you are encouraged to stay along those questions, but they're not, you know, they don't make you.
I know what you're on about, but you're led there unknowns to yourself. And also another thing too, when they sit you down at the end, and I'm not going to ask what the answer is, in other words, if you want to see each other again, but like, surely the temptation is at the meal to say, well, what are you going to say? Like, are you going to, you know, because people go in and say, yes, I'd love to see you again, and the other one goes, nah, it's not for me, I'm sorry. I presume you're told not to talk about that before the end of the meal.
Yeah, we're just asked, just don't talk about the process of what you went through today or beforehand, and just, you know, we're like to chat to each other after, you know, when it's all over.
Right.
Kind of what their process was like, but no, we're encouraged just to basically, as if you're really on a date, talk to somebody naturally, ask the questions you want to ask. You know, as well as maybe kind of steering a wee bit towards our interview questions.
Right, well, we're going to have to find out if Love is in the Air on Thursday. Did you enjoy the experience of it? Would you recommend it?
I would. I felt really looked after by RT and by their staff. Like, if you were thinking about maybe trying to meet somebody outside of your county, or maybe you mightn't find somebody with the same interests, you know, right beside you. You know, they have access to people from all over the country, so maybe it can, you know, could be successful for everybody.
And finally, have you got the television?
Successful for me or not?
Right. Well, you can't tell us that. That's why I'm trying to avoid you saying it. No. And finally, have you got the television bug now? Is there something else you'd like to do?
No, not at the moment. I work full time myself, and I do part time modelling too. And there's always cars to be fixed, so I'm busy myself at the moment. So I haven't thought about anything else, but if the opportunity came, I don't think I'd say no now.
Brilliant. Okay, well, we can't wait to see it on Thursday. It's season 8, episode 1, and Saoirse Little from Donegal Town is meeting up with Colm. RTE tell us, by the way, this is not you, that he's a professional auto dealer from Dublin. Accelerates from a standing start with petrolhead and classic car girl Saoirse. I don't know who writes this stuff, but anyway. It's fine. Listen, we'll just watch and enjoy it.
Thanks very much, Greg.
All right, best of luck. Thanks, Saoirse. Take care of yourself. All right, it's Business Matters next.
Business Matters in association with the Faculty of Business at ATU Donegal. Looking for a career in financial services? Consider the Level 9 MA in Governance and IT in Financial Services. Take the next step in your career and contact the Exec Ed Coordinator on 9186206 or email execed, EXECED at atu.ie today.
All right, the presenter of the Business Matters podcast is Kieran O'Donnell. He's in with us now. Good morning, Kieran.
Good morning, Greg.
How are you getting on?
The best, in yourself?
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. I enjoyed your segment with Aoife there.
Aye, yeah, indeed. She's an inspirational person. Whether she provides enough inspiration for me to do anything, that remains to be seen.
It's questionable, is it?
It is. No, but, listen, I'm going to do something. I'm going to start getting out doing a bit more. Right. You probably ran a marathon over Christmas, did you?
No. I heard back a week ago.
They call them Snickers now.
So I'm just in the band again.
All right, okay. Listen, you're too old for all this crack.
Thank you.
Let's start with
You're not far behind.
No, I might even be ahead. Let's start with some news. Content Llama is closing.
Yeah, Content Llama, the Donegal-based software company for e-commerce retailers, has decided to close after completing a review of its business. The firm had raised €2.5 million from investors in November 2021, but pulled a €15 million Series B raise after the company struggled to get traction.
Okay. We don't know if that's just a startup situation or maybe an indication of what is to come. We'll have to wait and see. But it's not often we kick off with news like that. Right. Prestigious awards for a Donegal professor, Kieran.
Yes, Professor Declan McCall, originally from Burton Port, has received 3 prestigious awards from the University of California. Dr. McCall is a leading doctor in biomedical sciences in the US, and at the end of December, he was selected for 2 Distinguished Service Awards from his department in UCR. He was also presented with an Outstanding Research Achievement Award, and the accolade presented by his colleagues recognised his work on chronic inflammatory disease. So well done to Declan.
All right, there's no slowdown in the establishment of a brewery. Some exciting news this week, isn't it?
Yeah, Donegal County Council has granted planning permission for a microbrewery in Portnablagh. Plans were lodged for the development by Anna McElhenney back in March of last year, and the new brewery will be located at McElhenney's garage in the townland of Rockhill.
That's a really distinctive building, that one.
Yeah, on the left-hand side there, going into Portnablagh, yeah. And a total of 19 conditions, Greg, were attached to Donegal County Council's decision.
Have you been to a brewery? I know you've done.
I was at 2 distilleries. I was in Crawley and I was over in the Steve League.
Yeah, because it's an experience to it, isn't it? There are visitor centres and not everyone has them or what have you.
And I suppose, look, maybe it's a sort of a trend, I said, but look, it's going to be another visitor attraction, and it's going to be another reason for people to come and visit to the area and stay in the area.
Yeah, indeed, and. We'll see what comes from it. Right, okay. The Chamber Gala Ball took place recently and actually raised quite a lot of money.
Yeah, €4,400, Greg, was raised for Cancer Care West at the Letterkenny Chamber of Commerce Awards Gala Ball in November. The proceeds were presented to Cancer Care West recently by Letterkenny Chamber CEO Tony Forrester and Letterkenny Chamber President Christine Reynolds. So it was a good night for businesses, and it's nice to see a nice amount being raised for the charity.
Well, that's why we shop local, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because that's
very
just a fraction of what local businesses do for the local community. Right, a new state solicitor appointed.
Yeah, Letterkenny native Kieran Dillon has been appointed as Donegal's new state solicitor. Kieran succeeds Kieran Liddy, who was appointed as a district court judge at the end of 2022. Kieran Dillon is a partner in the Letterkenny legal firm in Quillen Dillon, based on Letterkenny's Lower Main Street, and I wish Kieran well. A very nice man.
All right, car sales are up. Speaking off the record to 1 or 2 car dealerships, I think even they maybe were somewhat surprised at the level of new car sales for January. We're booking a trend here.
Yeah, I suppose this will go back to last year. 2,534 new cars were registered last year in Donegal, Greg. That's an increase of 5% compared to 2021. And according to the Society of the Irish Motor Industry, 105,253 new cars were registered in Ireland in 2022, and that's a reduction of 0.3% when compared to the previous year. And while petrol and diesel car registrations struggle to reach pre-pandemic levels, electric vehicle registrations have seen exponential growth, rising by 355% since 2019.
Yeah,
that's a massive figure.
My anecdotal conversations are about January, which aren't reflected in these figures. So for some, at the very least, it's a good start to the new year.
I've been talking to some myself. Supply is not a huge problem, but I suppose they're looking for people to be patient in terms of waiting for the new arrivals, Greg, you know.
Yeah, and people, when we talk about electric vehicles, of course, it is the all-electric, it's the electric plug-ins and the non-plug-ins as well. You add them up, they're outstripping the petrols and the diesels.
And just another fact that there was noted there when I was looking at the figures, more automatic cars now are being purchased for the first time. So something like 56 to 44. So that's the first time that there's.
I'm not sure you get stick shift electric vehicles. You know, the
I think you're right. A lot of them are automatic now. Yeah.
Yeah.
So again, I suppose there's a change there as well. Maybe it's born out of the way the car is manufactured, but it's something like 54, 46 in terms of automatic.
The computers are taking over, Kieran. They don't trust us.
Pardon?
The computers are taking over.
Well, that means you have to use a foot less when you're driving, Greg.
I don't think a lot of people realise that in America, Teslas are fully, if you subscribe to their package, fully self-driving.
Right.
Fully self-driving. Like, you can input your destination in America, and the Tesla car
will take you there.
Will drive you there. Right. I mean, it's worth, if anyone's interested in that stuff, check out some of the YouTube videos. This is not something of the future. This is actually happening right now, and the amount of hunger for this to be rolled out globally is unbelievable. But the car quite literally is driving itself, and it's not using sensors as such. It's all done via cameras, which, you know, the future is right now. I mean, obviously, Elon Musk.
It's no surprise that we've probably got to the stage either.
They're fully driving.
Yeah.
I'm not on about like beeping at you when you touch the white line.
Yeah.
Fully driving themselves.
We'll watch with interest to see how that develops.
I find it astonishing. I knew it was happening, but I didn't know it was happening until I actually read up on it and watched it happening, that these vehicles are, I can't keep saying the same thing, but driving themselves. Right, okay, stay with us, because the new podcast is available for you right now. It's the first one of 2023. It's on our website, highlandradio.com. We're going to be speaking, previewing it with Kieran after we take a break.
Crawford Tiles and More Castlefin. January sale now on. Great discounts in store with up to 20% off tiles, bathware, flooring, plumbing, lights, vinyl and carpet. Job lots on display for sale. Delivery and fitting available. Crawford Tiles and More Castlefin. 9143942. January sale now on. Miss it and miss out.
If over the holidays you decide it's time to change your car, then why not treat yourself to a new Nissan in 2023? Make an inquiry on our website and we'll be in touch to arrange your purchase when we return in the new year. We have cars ready to drive away in January, so visit imotors.ie. iMotors would like to wish everyone a happy new year.
2023 is officially here. And whether you're turning over a new leaf or starting right where you left off, who doesn't want to shrink their grocery bill at this time of year? Dunnes Stores Double Savers does exactly that. Save in the aisle with loads of your favourite products at everyday low prices. Then save again at the till with our 10 off 50 and 5 off 25 grocery vouchers. Double Savers from Dunnes Stores. Always better value. Terms and conditions apply. Voucher can be used on next qualifying grocery shop.
The Restex Beds and Furniture Winter Sale is now in full swing at their showroom at the Mountaintop in Letterkenny, supplying only the finest quality, luxurious Irish-made beds and mattresses with genuine savings throughout our range. We look forward to seeing you at Restex Beds and Furniture Winter Sale.
Highland Radio weather updates with Ireland West Airport. Discover Edinburgh this summer with Ryanair's 3 times weekly service. Stunning architecture, endless winding streets and an awe-inspiring castle. Ireland West Airport. Don't just take off, take it easy.
Okay, the weather before we get into this week's podcast. Rather windy today with bright spells and scattered showers. Some heavy, maximum temperatures of 9 to 11 degrees in fresh to strong and gusty west to southwest winds. Right, your guest this week, Kieran.
Yes, Greg, my guest this week is Paul Kelly, a director with Irish company Harcourt Technologies, which is providing the 3D construction printing technology for a housing development in Lancashire and England. The social housing project will comprise 46 units and a community centre for homeless army veterans and low-income families. It's been backed by Accrington Council with the assistance of the homeless charity Building for Humanity. Paul graduated from the University of Dundee School of Architecture in 2004 and qualified as a chartered architect in 2005. Since then, he has held senior positions in a number of architectural practices, leading design teams on the delivery of numerous high-profile projects. Harcourt Technologies is made up of architects, engineers and material scientists, and the company's mission is to provide housing in a more sustainable, cost-effective and efficient manner using 3D construction printing technology. In this clip, Paul explains the process of 3D construction printing technology.
It's very simple, really. At the start, it all felt like a bit of hocus pocus. It's very advanced technology. However, what it delivers is incredibly straightforward. It simply places concrete in a very precise and efficient manner, where it's a modern technology used to deliver a traditional methodology, if that makes sense. We build, as people have been building for a very long time, with double leaf cavity construction. So it's two leaves of concrete, as opposed to a concrete block. It is mass concrete, and we fill that cavity with insulation.
Oh, that's interesting, and I think a lot of people might be interested in that in this county as well, because my faith in the concrete block is gone. And I know this is still sourced. It is a concrete product, but providing it's manufactured to a high standard, which I'm sure it is over in Accrington, this could this be the future?
Very much, Greg. I suppose it's the first of its kind in Ireland and the UK, so all eyes are going to be on this project in Accrington. It saves on time, it saved on cost, and it ticks the sustainability box very well. So it is the new way of doing things, and as Paul indicated when we talked, it's a break away from traditional methods, but there are huge savings to be made in this way of going.
So it's not shuttering then as such, is it?
No, it's... I suppose...
Listen to the podcast.
Well, if you could... it's like a bigger version of...
a 3D printer, is it?
Yeah.
So it lays it down in
it's to the inch or to the millimetre. It's precision personified.
Okay, so it's not like shuttering, pull the concrete, take the shuttering off.
No.
It's laying it effectively as it goes.
And it's really worth checking out, because once you see it, you go, it's so simple, and you go, well, why was this not done before? That was the question.
The cost comparison, concrete's expensive.
But I suppose himself and his co-directors, I suppose over COVID, it gave them time and space to sort of take a look outside the box, and I suppose the net result of this is this new development, this new way of doing things here.
And he's Paul's from Letterkenny, so Letterkenny,
yes,
originally.
Yes, indeed.
Okay, fascinating stuff. All right, that full podcast, and it is one that's got cross interest, I think. That full podcast is available for you right now on our website. That's highlandradio.com. Or you can get it on Spotify or iTunes as well. And if people want to listen to it on the radio, as many do, Kieran?
Yeah, it goes out on air on Sunday evening, Greg, after the 6 o'clock news.
And if anyone would like to get in touch with you, how do they do so?
Yeah, usual email, businessmatters@highlandradio.com.
All right, Kieran, brilliant as always. We'll chat to you next week. Again, Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year, Greg, and thank you.
Take care of yourself. We'll be back with more in the 9 till noon show after this break.
Business Matters in association with the Faculty of Business at ATU Donegal. Looking for a career in financial services? Consider the Level 9 MA in Governance and IT in Financial Services. Take the next step in your career and contact the Exec Ed Coordinator on 9186206 or email execed, EXECED @atu.ie today.
At Ulster Bank, we have now begun to close current and deposit accounts. At this time, if your notice period and your deadline has passed, your account is now queued for closure. You must take action now. If you are still relying on your personal or business bank account and in need of support, please contact us immediately. Visit ulsterbank.ie, your local branch, or call 0818 210 260. Call costs may vary and calls from mobiles may not be free. Ulster Bank Ireland DAC is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Tá gá irid seansig páistí an flua oil agus atáig daoine fásta. Rud a déach a bheith ina chúiscinis chun cúisig. Tá gach páistí idir gábhlín agus 7 mlína déag díis in an vaccine flu sróna oil sé an aisce. Is bailach sa bháilte agus éfachtach atá an soc in idir cosint, chun maid leis an cuid eile den teilech. Jane Quinn le de Doctor Generalta no le de Fottacare. Tell óla sér fáil ag hsc.ie/flu. Ó aimanacht nar Servicius Lunche.
Buying or moving home can be a strange mixture of excitement and stress. So the last thing you need is worrying about conveyancing. Time to call McElhenney & Associates. They'll move that property transaction along swiftly, make sure everything's in order, and prevent any nasty surprises. Residential, commercial, leasing, or voluntary transfer. Call today on 074 917 5989 or find us online. We'll do the paperwork, you do the wallpaper. McElhenney & Associates Solicitors, Stranorlar. How can we help?
All right, we have some time now for some of your comments that have been coming in thick and fast throughout the course of the day. We really do appreciate them. It's a very important part of the programme, as you know. So thank you very much for that. So let's have a look at what you've been saying today. Greg, we've become a nanny state. Nobody takes responsibility anymore for their actions. Having wains, have as many as you want. Somebody else will look after them. The state, no consequences for their actions anymore. Throw a house at them, throw money to them, and make more babies. I think our young people are better than that, to be honest with you. I don't really see it as you do, but that's fine. Listen, that's your opinion, and I'm not saying your opinion's wrong. I'm just saying my opinion differs. Waiting since October to see my surgeon, not even an appointment yet, and I am in pain. It's going to be a long time. It's going to feel like an even longer time than the calendar would suggest it is. I feel like you have to be at rock bottom to seek help. I know I was going on a downward trend and I tried to intervene early. I went to a drop-in clinic to talk to someone and ask for regular sessions afterwards. I was told to try what I was told in the session first, which was breathing and writing a positive sticky note every morning, and then to come back in a few weeks. It was so discouraging I didn't go back. I said I was struggling with self-harm. In that situation, you could contact somebody else. Do you know what I mean? There's a number of different agencies that can help if that's how you're feeling. And certainly, you know, if you're discouraged by one, don't let that be the end of it. I don't know what age you are or how you're feeling, but there are other organisations. Don't give up. Because, you know, if you have a bad experience with that, it might feed into your mindset, and it might make you go, well, see, look, I was right. You know, stuff this. Whereas there's loads of other different organisations and people out there that would love to speak to you and give you far more support than it seems that you already got. So please don't be discouraged. Make sure you try something else as well, and get back in touch with us if you need any signposting. We can try and do that as much as we can. Nurses should go on strike. Young nurses leaving Letterkenny Hospital every week going to Australia. And, you know, when you hear the stories, would you blame them? We don't want them to. Hospital overstaffed, overpaid, all in the wrong areas, believes the listener there. I don't think Greg understands politics if he thinks health minister is going to get up on a plinth and admit failures in health. Obviously, in me calling that to happen is exposing my lack of faith in it happening. I'm not that naive, and that's why I talk of some other way of doing it, because it's just nonsense. It's not naivety on my behalf. It's just that's not going to happen, right? He's just going to tell us what the problems are. The government will tell us what the problems are. The opposition will tell us what they're going to do to fix the problems if they get into power. And will we be anywhere else after 10 years? Will I still be sitting here having the same conversations? Hi, Greg. As the people of this country, very short memories. The COVID was at its highest infection rate when masks were compulsory. Masks don't work. They're nothing to do with safety. Well, masks clearly work. You know, like, I don't want to tie it into the COVID situation. Forget COVID ever existed. But in terms of stopping the spread of infection, forget COVID. Masks clearly do work. Now, maybe you see Facebook or YouTube videos that suggest they don't, but they clearly do work because they trap an awful lot of what comes out of your nose and mouth. So if I don't want to talk about COVID as such in terms of the masks because it's just so it's so toxic. But I mean, masks are generally accepted to work to stop the spread of infection. But listen, again, you have your view, I have mine. I don't want to argue with you. I just disagree with you, and that's fine. I might be wrong and you could be right. I wish to agree with the caller who expressed the mistreatment of her daughter. I've witnessed firsthand the terrible treatment of a young worker here. Several attempts to address the issues, nothing was resolved. The system is very much on the side of the perpetrator and the victim continues to be victimised. It is a disgrace. Another, what mental health facilities are available 24/7 for children that have attempted suicide? That's an answer I just don't have off the top of my head. And more on those issues, which I will bring to you tomorrow just after we do a run through of the newspapers. But that's where we have to leave it on the programme today. My thanks to all of you who listened or watched the show, however you engaged. It's very much